great. Now so
Really after a wonderful start.
Yeah. So here we are.
What's up, y'all? You know what time it is? It's about to be that time.
Boom.
Boom.
Boom. All right.
Boom.
I'm here with we're here with Artur, Library
Hello.
of Ohara.
Hey,
Can everybody hear Artur? All right.
can you hear me?
Before we get started on everything, I want to make sure that everybody hears us, that the volume is good, okay? Yeah. Okay. Shout out to Enter a Name member for 14 months, said yo. Okay.
Yo.
In here. Yeah, we got a lot of people in here. A lot of regulars. Love to see it. Love to see it. All right. So, seems like we're good to go. All right. So, everybody, welcome to another edition of Theory for Theory. Okay, that is our collab series on this channel. And our guest today is Library of Ohara, Artur. Now, a staple in the community. Seriously, for many years, you know, very well known website that he has been a go-to source for not only myself but just about everybody in the community. So I'm happy to have you here today, man. How you feeling?
Thank you. I'm happy to be here, honestly.
Yeah.
I think there's like a couple seconds of delay lag, so that might make things a bit weird, but I think it's fine.
Or are you watching it live on YouTube?
No, but like I am listening, like I think your voice, like anytime that I ask something, like you reply like with like 2-3 seconds of lag, but I think that's fine. This should be too big of a problem.
Interesting. Maybe headphones would fix that.
Yeah, but it probably I think has more to do with location than anything. I think it's just directly on Discord.
Gotcha. So I normally do this with everybody, you know, when I do these. And first, I mean, you know, we've been a part of at least 1 or 2 collabs in the past that had like groups, but this is our first one-on-one, and I just want to get the origin story. You know, like, how did you get into One Piece? What was your you know, what was your start? What was the, you know, the impetus of just starting Library of Ohara?
I mean, man, if we're gonna go with like origin story, I might as well just do my whole autobiography. But I mean, like, you know, like One Piece has been something for me like ever since I was like very young, because I started off in elementary school, and I don't know if you know this about me, but I'm not particularly old. You know, I don't mean this disrespectfully, but I believe you're like a decade older than me, right?
I'm in my 30s.
Yeah, I mean, I just entered my 20s recently, so I'm still very young. But, you know, when I was in elementary school, which was around, I think, like, Thriller Bark, more or less, end of NES Lobby, Thriller Bark, a lot of people were really into One Piece, and of course, that just kind of got me interested, and ever since I was a kid, it's just kind of been there growing over my life, and then, like, when I became a teenager, like, it became even bigger for me. And it was especially a point when I turned 16 that I really wanted to kind of share a lot of, you know, this passion with One Piece. And I was in a situation at the point where I was like in a school where like I wasn't really liking it there. It was like really rough, and I wasn't really managing to connect much. And so it's just kind of I found sort of the internet to be an outlet to kind of like share this passion about One Piece and sort of deepen not just my knowledge and understanding about One Piece, but also just kind of connect it through with other people. And I tried doing it for a while, and this was like 2015, so it's already been 7 years. But you know, like back in the day, it was like kind of difficult for me to do YouTube because I was like, you know, 16. I was, you know, I didn't really have the microphone or the resources or the anything. It was just kind of complicated, so I did everything through text. But I wanted to, you know, still kind of be able to provide content for people, and ultimately I got the idea to do a website, because that's something that also like a lot of Japanese fans used to be. Here in the West, it's like a lot less common to do like blogs instead of YouTube. But
Well,
in
it
Japan,
wasn't
like,
in the early 2000s.
yeah, okay, yeah. But now like it's a bit of a dying art, right? But when it comes to Japan, for example, it's like a lot more common. Even now, there's like still like some big One Piece blogs there. I kind of wanted to do something a bit similar with, the Library of Ohara, and just kind of have like this place with like a lot of One Piece info and stuff, and just, sort of kind of have it like as a YouTube channel, but in a bit of a different format. And I think it's been really cool, because usually a lot of people are used to the YouTube format, the algorithm, and all those problems, and a blog is so fundamentally different. And in fact, I feel it's a lot more laid back, because you don't have to worry about the algorithm, you don't have to worry about copyright, you don't have to worry about a lot of other things. You just got less money. Essentially, that's the big catch. But
Yeah. Well, I mean, I feel like you found, the website. I mean, if you're considering it a dying art, I would have to say that you found a great space on Twitter lately.
yeah, I mean, like, obviously right now for the past year, I've been on a break because of health issues. Because I've been having health issues for many, many years, and that was also sort of what limited me from doing YouTube before, because it's something I really wanted to do as well, kind of sort of in tandem with the site, but I only got really around to it in like 2020, 2021. But I've been able to kind of do more YouTube recently, and now hopefully as my health is stabilizing again, I can like focus more on that, and I sort of kind of want to manage all these different things, and Twitter has also just been like a way to kind of connect all of that.
Yeah, I mean, I never. Well, I really didn't start actively using Twitter until I got back into YouTube, and it's an interesting area. You have the
Interesting.
you have the duality. It's either Mos
Yeah.
Eisley or it's pleasant. Most of the time,
Yeah,
it's
exactly.
Mos Eisley.
Yeah, honestly, I feel that when it comes to interacting with my followers, it's usually pretty nice. I feel my followers, thankfully, are pretty nice and respectful. I usually don't really get much problems, even when my tweets kind of go really big. And usually that's pretty fine. I think there's just everything else about Twitter is just awful. The timeline, the trending stuff, it's kind of like that. It's like, man, I kind of want to cut that out more from my life.
Yeah. So let's. I mean, I think that's great, man. Yeah. I had no idea, what the origin was for everything. We. Man. I mean, you're taking me back with the blog talk, because that was
Yeah.
essentially what Our Long Park started as. Prior to like being a forum and everything like that. It was like a page where we were updating things like these are Luffy's attacks and stuff back when it was still, I don't know, Sky P at times. But
Yeah, I mean, if we want to talk about like old times, Arlong Park is like going back in time, because I mean, Arlong Park started in like late 2000s, right?
early.
Yeah. No, I mean like the second half of the. Was it actually early 2000s or?
Yeah,
'cause I think
it
it was
was.
like 2005, 2006, or something like that.
So the first iteration of it was in like 2003, 2004, and
Oh
then
my
and then we revamped it in 2005. We moved from one form to another. So all of that stuff is just lost to time. Everything from
Yeah,
like 2002 to 2005, like
Right,
whatever.
right.
That's just gone. And the Kaizoku fan subs forums and all that stuff, all those things,
Yeah,
everything like that.
'cause
That's just gone.
You were part of all that stuff, right? You worked on Kaizoku fan subs, I believe you mentioned.
Yeah. Yep. Oh,
Yeah, I mean, like that's weird, because like that was like my childhood, right? It's kind of weird to put it that way, but because obviously, back in like 2008, you wanted to watch One Piece, you had to use something like Kaizoku fan subs. We didn't have like Crunchyroll or anything, so
Yeah, and
I
we
was
were
like-
pretty behind back then. I mean, the Raws were in Thriller Bark in 08, and we were in 08.
I started with the
Like Water
manga
7.
technically, but I caught up with the anime then.
Yeah.
And I mean, like I remember, like those were like the classic good old days of watchop.com, right? Well, I'd go back after school and be like, "Oh, it's like the new episode's coming out in like 240p or something."
Yeah. For me, it was like there used to be these download
Oh, yeah.
things. It was almost like a torrent thing.
Yeah, predecessor to
it,
torrents.
predecessor to torrents. It was called like Kazaa, LimeWire, and I would download that stuff, and it would take, I don't know, multiple days to actually download.
I did that too as well. Yeah. But for some stuff. Yeah, it was either that or like going on YouTube and being like, One Piece episode 14, part 1 of 4, Espanol subs.
Well, nothing beats the old Hong Kong subs and translations. Like I remember the original versions, like trying to catch up with the manga and things. They had things like Bisarumi Bear, for like yeah.
And
Pansy
things like Flamingo.
Binami the Dash Hound.
Yeah, I remember those. Those stuff like that. I mean, like those types of translations like are like really old. But there was also like the entire like reign of manga panda, like throughout like from like 2012 to like 2015. Where like the translations were just like so messy, but like also kind of coherent, where it was like really weird. Do you remember those times as well?
Oh yeah. Everything, man, everything. So in the chat, they're saying that the Road to Laugh Tale just dropped. So now I know that you stay official. So not going to get.
I'll probably
into that
translate
stuff.
it and cover it once it's out officially.
Yeah. So everybody in the chat will do something separate for the Road to Laugh Tale. So don't worry about that. So let's get into the current state of everything. We are entering what is probably very likely to be post Wano. How do you feel about everything?
Excited and terrified at the same time. I mean, like, it's just, well, the thing is, like, a lot of people are, like, feeling very shocked, but the thing is, we've known this for years. Even 2 years ago, I would have mentioned, like, yeah, after Wano, like, we're going to the end, right? We've known for a while that we're getting there. It's evident as a One Piece fan, but it's, like, seeing that, it's like, absolutely surreal, like, I remember when the tweet came out about, like, the whole thing about the final saga, and I had to report it, and I was like, damn, it's happening. It's real, huh?
It is. It's happening. We got. I just love the fact that we can really look at 1053, and we can sit here and we can just say that our boy made it. Like he's not the additional emperor. Well, both boys, Luffy and Buggy.
Exactly.
But our main character, is finally being recognized exactly the way that he should be.
It's kind of weird because, like, Luffy becoming an emperor is a big deal, but like everybody's focused on Buggy. Because I feel like Luffy, like no one is talking about like Luffy becoming an emperor, which is like a big deal, right? But it was so obvious that all the attention, of course, shifting to Buggy.
And I'll be honest too, it didn't really sit in with me as much as chapter 903. Like that's when it really hit me. Like I actually, I had some manly tears reading 903 when he was first, dubbed the fifth emperor.
Oh man.
Right? And now it really just feels like he's just getting the actual recognition, what he was already promised and deserved.
That felt all oddly early when like the whole Fifth Emperor thing, and I know it was like just Morgans being Morgans, but yeah, like I wasn't expecting that early. Maybe it would have hit more now if it wasn't for that, but I feel like now is also just kind of more expected.
Well, yeah, it worked for me. It worked for me, but I also love that Oda, went there with Buggy. We need that. And I mean, that's. he made him a warlord. Now he's an emperor. That's just
I
Oda
am
being
very
Oda.
very interested what exactly led Morgans to say like, yeah, Buggy's an emperor now.
Well, I mean, was it Morgan's, or is it the world government and brand new, and did they decide that?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like the chapter sort of indicated that Morgan's definitely like messed a bit with things because at the start of the chapter we're sort of told that the government was trying to censor like Luffy's bounty bounty wanted poster, and I feel like it also just sort of implies that the reason why they all got like equal bounties was to sort of like not highlight Luffy as like super special, because they said like, okay, so like remove the D, remove the Nika picture, just have a normal picture and everything else. But Morgan's was like, no, keep the picture, keep it nice, just print it, keep the D as well and everything. But the bounty kind of stay the same, and like that kind of just sort of helps spread. So I kind of just wonder if there's something similar with Buggy. But yeah, it's just like like becoming an emperor is kind of like a big deal, right? Like Blackbeard killed Whitebeard, Luffy defeated Yonko and became Nika. What the hell did Buggy do to get on that level? Just what happened outside Wano? That has me so excited because we've been told so many times.
Oh yeah,
like something big happened outside.
I mean, I love the theory that he pulled up to Hachinosu and found Captain John's treasure, and then on top of that, what if Captain John's treasure is something like Uranus? So now Buggy just accidentally landed himself to an ancient weapon.
It was exactly what I was thinking. Is like, what if like Captain John's treasure has just been this like silly plotline all this time? It's like a really big deal. Like Luffy accidentally found like this compass to like this really super important treasure that will actually play into the story.
I mean, it
Captain
has to.
John Boy.
Let's see. We get a super chat from Abdullah here asking. W's in the chat. He said, "Hi. Do you think Oda will put the revolutionaries and Elbaf together in one arc? Maybe Sabo will hide in Elbaf and all parties will go there. By this, Oda will save time." What's your take on Elbaf?
I mean, like, Oda has been known to, he mentioned that he's trying to sort of fuse certain arcs together in the past, because, for example, like, the whole, like, Germa arc, in a sense, was sort of supposed to kind of be its own thing, but Oda mentioned that he sort of fused it with Whole Cake Island because there's just not enough time to explore all these different plot lines separately. So I kind of get where they're coming from. Yeah, but at this point, however, I feel that no, I just really don't see how the revolutionaries will be tied with Elbaf, and I feel the revolutionaries have so much more to be tied with other things. They're already tied with the events of the Reverie, which are big, and I think that will play into the final war. I feel the revolutionaries need to play a big role in the final war, because yeah, Luffy's gonna be the protagonist. He's gonna like, spearhead all that stuff. But we also need like an actual army that kind of fights against the world government, right? That takes more of the logistical problems of all that stuff. Like, I mean, to put it simply, like, I think at the end of the story, like, Luffy will be the one to bring the dawn and help change the world and all that stuff, but I think it will be Dragon the one that will take more care of the political stuff, right? Like, establishing, like, a proper democracy or something, or a more, like, free government that sort of changes things.
Yeah, it's interesting to me, because, I mean, like, obviously, Oda's inspiration for the story is Vicky the Viking, it goes back to Norse mythology. So we're going to get Elbaf. We have to, because I mean, Oda 100%. Needs to flex that that Norse mythology. It's crazy to me that some people think that we'll skip Elbaf. Now, it's like we're not going to skip it. Yeah, but will it be something that we have to deal with next? Is the question that I'm wondering. Because everything seems like it, it's really going to kick into gear, and I don't even know if Luffy's going to go to Laugh Tale before he goes up against the world government for a final war. At this point, I'm wondering if he goes to Laugh Tale after he's already, essentially saved the world, and then it's just, this like added thing at the very end. Because
Sorry.
No, you chime in. I mean, I'm definitely
No,
more.
yeah. The one thing when it comes to all that is like we really don't know a lot of the details of the structure of the final arc because there's so many things that could happen, right? There's for example, the destruction of Fishman Island. So does that mean that Luffy will go to Marijoa at some point, and it's going to tie into that, or, because Laughdale is kind of like at the opposite point of the world of Fishman Island, right? And all those things. So it's kind of hard to say. But the one thing we know for sure is that Oda kind of, or at least Oda heavily indicated this in the SBS that Luffy finding the One Piece, or the One Piece being discovered, more specifically, as he said, would be the final part of the story, would be sort of how the story concludes, because he felt that, like, after the secret of the One Piece is revealed, it's kind of like the hook for the series isn't there anymore, and there really isn't a reason to continue. So I do think, like, I know some people think that when, like, the One Piece will be found and that will kickstart the final war because the One Piece will change the world. But I think, like, the One Piece will be something at the end that once the final war is done and once the system is broken and once the dawn is coming, will help to really connect and unify the world. And like Oda said, I think, like, it makes sense that something at the end, because it's like the final, like, thing, like, we've been waiting since the very start to know why this series is called One Piece. What does One Piece even mean? And I think that will be there. So we can, like, use that as a point of reference, but everything else before that is just a complete incognita.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I think that the point of the story, and we'll find out by the end of it, is really just about unifying people.
Connecting.
Connecting, exactly. Luffy goes
like
to an island.
Because the kanji of the kanji reading of One Piece is Hitotsunagi, which is the treasure that connects, literally.
Interesting. Love that.
Which can also be read as the treasure that connects people. So it's literally something that connects people together.
And you take that and you apply it to the themes of One Piece. Luffy goes to an island every single time. He's liberating people, and he's dealing with some sort of failed pirate, in some manner, or some person that has some sort of ideological or philosophical difference to Luffy, and then he has to overcome that, and that's just step by step. And then now he's Joy Boy, the liberator, and I think that ultimately Oda is setting us up, of course, naturally, for us to go to Marineford, to go to Marijoa, to free slaves, to save whoever is captured, to disrupt and dismantle this entire organization and rebuild it with people like Vivi and Kobe and Smoker, and have an actual government that is for the people, that is protected. And it's just the question of, does Luffy become the Pirate King and then save the world, or does he save the world and then become the Pirate King?
I think that makes more sense. Yeah. Because, like I said, like, the One Piece needs to be found at the end of the story, like Oda said. And I think that's when Luffy becomes really Luffy becomes the Pirate King. And I think also really falls into his role of Joy Boy, because while Zunisha has acknowledged that Luffy reminds it of Joy Boy, it hasn't really confirmed that, like, yes, Luffy's 100% Joy Boy right now. It's just like, we have this scene, for example, a few chapters ago, where Zunisha says, like, Joy Boy, that kid, Luffy, really reminds me of you, right? And in that sense, I feel like Luffy still hasn't fully come to that role, but as he will guide the ancient weapons, as he brings the dawn of the world, as he brings that liberation and really topples the world government and finally uses the One Piece, whatever it is, however it's used, that will, like, finally be when Luffy comes into fully his role of Joy Boy, which he's already starting to enter into, and become the Pirate King and become the freest man in the world, essentially.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I take it as Zunisha, obviously we're going to see this when the anime comes out as well, but I'm sure that there's a sound element to Joy Boy, especially being the Caribbean spirit of the drum, right? And then there's this emphasis on, the drum of his heartbeat. So that has to be what Zunisha is hearing, and it's not necessarily that, I'm hearing literal Joy Boy, but that this fruit is now being activated in the same way from what I remember so many hundreds of years ago. So it's the return of that.
And I think like I find it very very interesting that Zunisha mentions that the rhythm of the drums of liberation is a very familiar rhythm. It's like a nostalgic rhythm from times past, and it kind of makes me think it's like even outside like the fruit itself. I wonder if like Nika, or rather Joy Boy originally, like kind of played that rhythm on the drums. You know, kind of like we said. You know, because I also made a video like that. And it kind of makes me think, you know, what is that rhythm, kind of like that song that he played? And like to me, the association that I made in my mind, which kind of ties into my whole theory, is kind of that, like, you know, the rhythm of the drums of liberation is literally this don to to to, don to 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 in Japanese, or dum dum da da, how they translated it. And it's like I think that's literally the same rhythm as like yo ho ho ho, you know. And I think like that, like could all tie together, right?
Okay, all
Of
right.
course, yeah. Like, and we don't know why this rhythm is familiar to Zunisha, but it makes sense that Joy Boy used to sing Bing Sasaki, because we know Bing Sasaki is important to the Void Century in one way or the other.
Absolutely.
And it's like, you know, what if that's kind of like the rhythm that also reflects in Luffy's drum celebration? So I kind of wonder if in the anime it's kind of gonna follow that doom doo doo doo, doom doo doo doo, doom doo doo doo, doom doo doo doo. Is that 4-note rhythm? So,
that would be so crazy if the anime comes out and we finally see Gear 5th, and it's just Bing Sake playing as he's moving around. Oh, man,
that just fits well. Yeah, look, you laughed. Exactly. It's like it fits that, right?
Of course it does. Yeah. Of course it does.
It's like the most One Piece thing possible. This is why I love Gear 5th. Gear 5th's amazing.
Oh yeah, anybody that doesn't like it now, it's perfect.
I mean, okay. I have some narrative problems with Gear 5th, but I still love it, and I think there are valid concerns.
Get into it.
But for me, it was fundamentally two issues. For one, it was the fact that Gear 5th, in essence, is a retcon, and I know like there's some people like, bro, like go to planet since chapter 1 or whatever, but I do feel like it is an element that was introduced. And there's specifically an interview from a few years ago where like Oda specifically said, like, I'm still not sure what Luffy exactly will use to be able to defeat Kaido, but I'm sure I'll come up with something along the way, right? And it's like, we've never really heard of Nika before Wano. Like, yes, there's technically like a mention in like Skypiea, but it's not like even the same thing, right? It's kind of like different gods being mentioned and a sun god among them, you know. And it's like, yeah, maybe you can make a connection, but the character of Nika, and even just the idea of the Gomu Gomu no Mi being special, was specifically introduced this arc very recently with Usu and everything, right? And there's been the foreshadowing for that, but I feel for like a twist as big as this one, it should have been set since earlier. I feel like this is something that should have been established earlier, right? And like Joy Boy, the symbology of the sun and everything, yes, that has always been established, but I'm seeing specifically the figure of Nika, you know. But ultimately, that's coming around on me. The only worry I had was sort of the bigger worry that a lot of people also had was that, you know, Luffy eating the Nika fruit, like, automatically, like, just makes him the Joy Boy. And to become the Joy Boy, you need the fruit. And that's it. And Luffy was, like, destined to eat the fruit. And, like, that's the only thing that allows him to do this. And, like, he didn't really achieve anything out of his own effort. But then, like, you know, the dialogue that has come in, like, the following chapters, you know, with, like, what Zunisha said, and also Kaido saying that, like, a Del fruit alone isn't gonna let you stand at the summit of the world. Like, you need haki, you need strength and perseverance, right, and all these things, kind of indicated to me that, like, okay, Oda knows very well that, like, you know, like, this isn't a problem, right? Luffy isn't necessarily predestined. He may be able to control destiny, or he is tied with destiny in some way, but it's not like Luffy's getting, like, a free ticket to becoming Pirate King. Luffy is still getting there out of his own strength, which is really what matters. So I think a lot of those things, like, really stop. And I was very skeptical about Gear 5th at first, quite simply. But I feel like the more chapters that kind of went on, it's like the more I like it. And especially, more than anything, it's just like, yeah, I have some narrative problems, but it looks so cool. It's so much fun. It's like, it's so One Piece. I'm like, I absolutely adore that.
Oh yeah, pre-time skip vibes for sure. Yeah, see, with everything with Gear 5th and the issues that people have with it, and this idea that people can't get around that Luffy is chosen or anything like that, it's everything that he has attained, he worked for it, you know. Exactly. And we've seen it over, you know, 25 years and 1053 chapters that he has, he started from the barrel. Now he's here. Now there are elements that are, within the story that, I remember having an issue when the chapter came out that Luffy's dad was Dragon, and that Luffy's grandfather was Garp. And, I initially had an issue with Ace's father being Roger. And I was like, okay, we're going into this. But then, I started thinking about it more. And of course I was I don't know, probably some teenager or early 20s back then. And the more I reread the story, the more I, just let everything sit in, I see that this is really the way that the story was always meant to be. You go back to chapter 100 and you can see Dragon like showing up to Loketown and saving Luffy, and it's like, okay, well, all right, so this makes sense now. It didn't at the time initially, like, the community was getting around it, and it was like we were already starting to talk about these chosen one things, and it's like, is this, is this what we're dealing with? But what Oda has always been doing is crafting the quintessential story. So it's not even about just having these tropes or anything that you've seen before, right? Because the way that he does it is so rooted in everything, in mythology, and not just Japanese mythology, but just but Greek, Norse, everything. He's pulling from pop culture. He's putting everything that you can possibly find within the world into one piece, right?
It's insane.
So when we have something like one of the most just overused tropes in the world, the chosen one trope, it works. Why? Because it's One Piece. Because Oda crafted it this way.
The thing that I would argue is that while One Piece does rely on a lot of tropes in that way, in that regard, One Piece also has a very progressive core at the center of it all. Oda has a mentality of sort of tying into a lot of themes that I feel even a lot of classical works, or even more recent works, have struggled to really get in. And people will argue this one way or another, but Oda is incredibly political. He is incredibly philosophical with his story, and he does center on a lot of things. And I feel like one of the biggest core aspects of One Piece is, the concept of freedom, and really the concept of individuality within, a collectivism, because One Piece is ultimately a Japanese manga, and this is something that I feel is maybe sometimes harder to perceive in from a Western perspective, and this is something I'd love to talk more in depth sometime, but One Piece is a manga that very much rebels against a lot of the concepts of Japanese society. Oda does criticize a lot of the concepts of Japanese society through One Piece, and one of those is sort of the sense of destiny, which is an integral element of Japanese society and Buddhist and Shintoist philosophy. And I think that with I think ultimately what Oda is going for is just showing that even with a concept like destiny, in the end it's still in your hands, and you still should be able to do what you want in your life, even if there could be greater forces and other things. Yeah, exactly. It's the sense obviously destiny is gonna play into One Piece in some form or another, because we know that it's been established since East Blue. Whoop Slap established it.
Is it
exactly?
Is it his dream or his fate or his destiny? Yeah.
Exactly. And but ultimately, I don't think that destiny existing as an element in One Piece means that everything is predestined. That Luffy is the chosen one in a destined way that he can't even control it. It just means that Luffy can take destiny to help change the world, but he's ultimately the one who is wielding it, or at least he's the one crafting his own road. At least the way I see it. And I think that really connects with the message of One Piece, that's even with a concept like destiny potentially existing, ultimately you're the one who chooses what to do with your own life.
Exactly. Totally on board
Getting
with all
philosophical.
No, but I mean, that's One Piece. That's it.
Yeah, exactly.
I talk about this stuff all the time. All the time. It's deeper. Yeah, it's a goofy pirate manga, but it's a very deep goofy pirate manga. It's there are levels and layers to this that is why we have so many of us in the community that are able to peel it back and really get into this stuff. And it's interesting too, because like I studied a lot of Japanese mythology, so I was able to enjoy and explain a lot of what was going on in Wano. I saw a lot of people that were very upset by things that seemed like they were just pulled out of a hat, or things that they didn't necessarily understand from the story, like things like Onimaru, like how does Onimaru exist, and
like I mean I love that stuff because
it's like why is Tama important and things
the Onimaru, the Onimaru chapter was like so good to me because it's like the point where like obviously he transforms back into the fox and it kind of just ties with the whole like Japanese myth of like foxes transforming and everything was like, oh man,
there's like, all this stuff that just seems so out of character for One Piece, and it's like there is so much happening here on a Japanese mythology level.
People forget that One Piece is made for a Japanese audience first and foremost, and it is also something very global that can connect to a lot of people. But Oda does take for granted that people have a certain understanding of a lot of Japanese things. That has been very present in Wano because there's so many things that you are supposed to take for granted. Like you said, all the Kibidango stuff, all the Onimaru stuff, a lot of the mythological stuff, and unfortunately that can get a bit lost in translation, and a lot of people are just like, wait, why is this? This doesn't make sense.
Yeah, and then going so far literal, with Tsukumogami and Big Mom, like, and what else? There's so much. I eventually want to do a video on all of it.
There's just so much stuff that gets lost in translation. I mean, that's how I get a job, right? But explaining all this stuff, but it's like I think it shows that like there's just so many things that like get lost so easily to the point that like we need people to kind of help explain those.
Yeah, like another thing too, like we finally got confirmation that Ashura Doji is dead, right? Which makes sense because it lines up with the folklore of Shuten Doji.
Right. Yeah.
There's we saw so much with Okiku and everything.
Wow. I remember, for example, there was, for example, the chapter which was chapter 996 when there was like Sanji, like hearing a voice of a woman getting harassed by a man, and that led him to being captured by Bak Maria.
Yeah,
and people thought it was Ivankov. Yeah, exactly. And like the thing is, like, in Japanese, it's like a very obvious reference to like a certain like theatrical thing, But obviously, like from a like Western perspective, like a lot of people are like, "Oh my God, Ivankov is in Wano, let's go!"
Right. Which, I mean, even if that was the case, there was a lot of stuff within the story, Dressrosa and everything, that if the revolutionaries did happen to show up in Wano, it would have been completely foreshadowed. So, with Drunken Iron Ore, Sabo, Hack, Koala, and everything going on there, if they actually did show up to Wano, even at this stage, it still would be foreshadowed.
Yeah.
What do you expect from Green Bull?
It's interesting because I literally tweeted this out the other day that the Admirals have never really played the role of like a big bad. It's not like they're the central antagonist of an arc and everything is focused around them. They've always sort of acted as different obstacles in the story. We've seen this with Kuza and Borsalino, Sakazuki, and Fujitora as well, and like now we're seeing it with Ryokuyu. And I do kind of wonder how all of that will tie specifically, because I don't think we're just gonna get a fight against Aramaki and like boom, it's like I want to post fight and we got like Luffy being stomped, because realistically I think the Alliance can probably curb stomp like Ryokuya at this point if they've been able to defeat 2 Yonko. But I think that there's going to be something different, and this kind of takes me back to that SBS where Oda kind of mentioned a fan theory that Fujitora and Ryokuya would sort of oppose the world government. Not necessarily betray, but they would oppose the world government and the vision of the other admirals. And it's kind of like, I wonder if that will play, because we know already that Fujitora does not agree with a lot of things of the world government, right? And I do think that in a future where the world government changes and the Marines change, I think Fujitora is going to stay there. I don't think like Akainu, he needs to really go away. I think he makes sense. But like I kind of like wonder like how that is gonna play in the story. Fujitora has already successfully managed to abolish the Shichibukai system. What else can he do, and what will Ryokugi do here? Because also it's interesting because in the latest chapter he seems to be a Sakazuki simp, and he seems to want to take Luffy's head. So will he really, or will he do something different? And Oda is building up something big with that final panel in the last chapter.
Oh yeah, no, and I did see your tweet going back to that SBS, which is why I wanted to talk about this, because I've been talking about this a lot for years, that I fully expected this particular arc to also have this last element, this unexpected arrival, this Kuma, at Thriller Bark. Now, yes, in just about every situation where we've had this, right, Kuzan didn't, he owed a favor to Garp, so he ended up not being that bad. Garp shows up. Oh, Luffy's grandfather. Kuma shows up, friend of Luffy's dad. Time and again we get these characters that show up.
It's also because of Luffy's own qualities, because like Luffy defeated Crocodile, so Kuzan was like, okay, because you defeated Crocodile, I'm gonna let you go. And also like Kuma was impressed by Zoro and all that stuff. But yeah, like regardless, and I do like that because it's not the traditional like, oh, there's a big bad guy, we gotta find him, but it's like Oda finding new variables to introduce characters in cool new ways into the story.
Yeah, but what I want is I actually want Aramaki to be bad. I want something that's going to challenge. I would love for Oda to flip and invert this idea here, because we technically are expecting that. The SBS, all that stuff. And if Ryukyu ends up becoming, some sort of morally great character, then whatever, it's just Oda going on this established pattern, right? But here, this is the opportunity for us to really inject some drama into the story and potentially bring something different, especially seeing how menacing he was, how he dispatched the two top commanders of the Beast Pirates. Imagine, I'm going to be putting a video out pretty soon about this anyway, but just, and I've talked about it plenty of times here on my streams, but I mean, imagine a situation where the Alliance can't even touch him because he's got all these vines around and he's keeping everybody at bay. And since he is a Sakazuki simp, what if he does capture Luffy? And we end up in this scenario where we have a completely inverted Marineford saga, where now, instead of being alone with Luffy, we're actually with the crew while Luffy has been captured. And every single person that he has freed throughout the entire story now has to come together to save him.
As much as I love that idea, because that's like really cool, like I just don't see how could the Alliance not manage to fight back against the Ryokugi? I mean, maybe because they're wounded, but like they've just defeated 2 Yonko, and like that's also like all the people who defeated the Yonko crew and all that stuff against like 1 admiral. And for as strong as he is, you could literally have another Yonko and they probably still would win, right? But that's the thing, is like I also just don't see like a fight, really. I just see something different. Like I don't even know if there will be much of a clash at the moment. I feel like there's something that's gonna happen, and I really like the fact that we don't know exactly what it is, right? But it kind of gives this kind of like Kuma aura, right? Where it's like there's this big danger of Kuma like we had in Thriller Bark, but that doesn't necessarily mean that the Straw Hats are lost or we're gonna get like a new long fight. But there's gonna be like something that's gonna like
something needs to happen. There needs to be some sort of replay of nothing happened. Something needs to happen. But either way, it's got me so primed, so excited for all of it, because I just, in order to move forward in the story, yes, there's been devastating things that have been going on outside, but we need something from a story perspective to move us to the next arc, to the next storyline.
Yeah, that's the thing, is like we really don't have like an next objective at the moment. The Straw Hats don't, I mean, at the very least. Yeah, there's Elbaf, Laughdale and everything, but at the moment they're just still there. And let's not forget, there was supposed to be a road poneglyph on Wano, but it's not anywhere we know. You know,
Well,
so
if
is it
anybody
still
would
there?
know, then it would be, Sukiyaki.
Right, but that's the thing, is like that still hasn't sort of been brought up. We found two poneglyphs, but they're both blue. So, and
I'm just
there's
hoping
also
for
the
more
whole,
of a conversation between Robin and
yeah,
Sukiyaki, because this is
yeah,
now we have the two people in the world that can actually
yeah.
read the poneglyphs in the same room together.
Mhm. And there's also, I mean, like, there's also the whole matter with Pluton, right? Which is like a big deal, and the fact that it's in Wano, so like, I wonder how that will play out. I have my own theories for that, but
Yeah, no, I'm so excited for
what do
this.
you think is Pluton?
Well, I think all of the ancient weapons are a person and a conduit.
Yes.
So an object and a conduit being the person. So in the way that Shirahoshi is a person, right?
Yeah.
But their power controls the Sea Kings. So since that is the only one that is confirmed for us, right?
Yeah.
That we know, then it's just the best guess is that they are all like that. So in the case where if Momonosuke, hypothetically, I mean, it seems like things are, maybe changing with that or whatever. But if, Momonosuke being a ancient weapon, Pluton, Uranus, whatever, and then controlling something like Zunisha, a land king, whatever, that's the way that it would go. And I think we both share the idea, because
Yeah, exactly.
I've always thought
That's what I wanted to ask you.
I've always wanted Vivi to be the last ancient weapon.
Yeah. I mean, I really like the idea of like Momonosuke being Uranus and Vivi being Pluton. And the only reason why I like Vivi being Pluton in some form is because of the narrative irony of Crocodile looking for Pluton all that time, but it was always under his eyes, right?
Yeah.
But
and I love
feel if that was
there's the panel too where he says, "Where is Pluton?" Right, and then the next panel is Vivi with a gigantic question mark.
Yeah. Exactly, and I love that, but I feel that if Vivi realized Pluton, it would have been established in the story, which is why that was a part that I always felt iffy, or like something would have been teased, right? But Vivi has no powers; she hears nothing and stuff. Well, like Momo instead, just makes sense, and this was a theory that I was already talking about and kind of considering at the same time. Is like, what if we got it backwards? What if Momo is Pluton and Zunisha is like the ship? Right, in some form. What if Zunisha is a ship that has eaten a devil fruit? Or what if it's different? What if it was never like a real like wooden ship, but like a metaphorical ship of like something that carries people on its back? What if Zunisha is used to open Wano, literally destroying the land of Wano with its force, and the real Pluton is beneath or something. But I think like Momo is the key to it all in some form or another. And it's like Yamato already has said it. Momo will bring the dawn of the world. The ancient weapons will bring the dawn of the world. It's like, obviously it's not confirmed, but at this point it's very hard to argue that Momo isn't an ancient weapon.
Exactly, because I mean, none of the Sea Kings are Poseidon. Shirahoshi is. Right?
Exactly.
So if underneath Wano is some other large creature like Zunisha, then that Momonosuke would be able to control, but that Zunisha is needed to open that, to break that, to free that creature, right? Because there's the implication by the Gorosei that the borders can't open now because Zunisha has left. So,
exactly. It's a big deal.
Yeah. But I mean,
sorry.
Oh no, I was just gonna say. I mean, I'm probably wrong about it, but I mean, I've talked about this a lot. But there's also the very panel where right before it rains in Alabasta and Vivi is screaming. Right, the way that Oda drew it is completely identical to when Shirahoshi uses her power at the when she's in the flashback. So the very first time she uses her power, it's a close-up on them screaming the same way, and then Vivi does the exact same thing, and then Oda has this very elaborate panel showing that the rain has come, right? So I think that Vivi started the rain, and that Smoker was just, he didn't actually use the rain powder at all.
We got Pluton, the Earth, Poseidon, the sea, Uranus, the sky, who knows? But,
yeah.
The thing is that at this point, it's kind of like, I mean, yeah, it's. I feel like a lot of people really get hung up on like, yeah, but like Pluton was a ship, right? But that's just what Iceberg said. But like also Crocodile said that Pluton was in Alabasta. He was
Yeah.
wrong. Clearly, someone gave him the wrong information. Who's to say that Iceberg was only misled because the blueprints are of a wooden
What's up,
ship,
y'all?
but
You
maybe
know
those
what time?
but maybe those were only like there behind left as as a count. We know that the blueprints were left as a counter weapon, and it's implied that those blueprints are the same as the original ship. But maybe that's wrong, or maybe it's a ship with a clubouter, man. There's so many ways to justify it that I think it's too close-minded to just say, oh, it's impossible because it was a ship.
Right.
We
Because
clearly don't know
also
enough about this.
there's a game of telephone going on over centuries.
Yeah,
It
exactly.
anything that carries people like Zunisha carries an entire race of minks on its back. Zunisha
Yeah.
could be considered a ship just by that. So it's
Exactly.
just it's a level of interpretation.
Yeah,
But
and like Crocodile mentioned that Pluton can wipe out an island in one blast, in one hit. We saw Zunisha with its trunk destroy an entire fleet, and it's been implied that Zunisha could destroy the borders of Wano open it. So like, I mean, Zunisha is arguably, I mean, like Oda's like really bad at like mega sizes like this, but Zunisha is arguably as big as the Red Line, or at least close to as big as the Red Line. It could destroy the Red Line, and then Poseidon could destroy the Grand Line, and that unifies the world. But that also does, and that does also bring into question just what the hell is Uranus, because it's never been hinted at in any form in the story. And like maybe it's a completely new element, but it would be really cool if it's something that we already knew, but we were never told. It was never framed that was actually Uranus.
yeah, we have there's nothing that can definitively tell us that every weapon is a literal physical tangible weapon. The only thing that we know is that one of them is a person that controls creatures. So
Hmm.
Oh, this is interesting. Because I do want to get into talking about this as well. Well, first, shout out to my guy Ty. Said sorry I'm late. He said that he's a huge fan of your Japanese Explained series. And here's my original One Piece Rosetta Stone. He said, "What's up, Savage Crew?" And then we have Michael Mouton, who's in the chat. He said, "Hey Randy, recently landed my dream job as a set PA on the One Piece live action."
Wow.
And then he's got lofty dreams. Says he's going to be in a director's chair by Alabasta, and he said, "Love from South Africa." Now I know that you've been doing a lot of tweeting about the live action and everything like that, and another positive force in the community. And I didn't want to not talk about it during this stream as well. How do you feel? How do you feel, man?
I mean, it's like I understand obviously the hesitation of some people, but like knowing the people who are involved in this project, I really think it has the potential to be something amazing. And if it turns out to be trash, we'll laugh it off and forget about it in a day. But if this turns out to be good, it has so much potential. Like everything that I've seen is just like hyping me up so much more every time. And it just feels like everyone involved in this project knows what they're doing and they're passionate about creating something big. Whether it's Matt, whether it's, Steven or, any of the cast members, they're all so incredibly passionate about this stuff. And I am like legitimately very excited just to see any new bit of information.
Exactly. I mean, it's going to be an adaptation, so it's not going to be one-to-one. I tell that to people all the time. That's you watch any adaptation.
Exactly.
The point is to bring a piece of yourself to it.
Yeah. What I'm really loving that I've seen is that they sort of seem to have found this like really cool balance between really keeping the fundamental core ideals and concepts and themes and just of One Piece, but not in the story, but like specifically in like just the sets, the characters, and a lot of the details and stuff like that, while also giving them like a completely brand new look. And we saw this with the design of the Barati, right?
Yep,
it's
exactly.
Like, it encompasses like there's some like details like the Barati kind of having like a lighthouse at the top, which just like encompasses without any words what the Barati is about so well. while still being different and unique on its own, you know. And obviously there's some people are like, oh, but the Barati isn't the same color as the manga, and it's like,
Oh
yo,
my
who cares?
god!
It's
Oh
gonna
my
be
god!
different.
It's like, no,
Yeah,
in the manga there isn't a bar inside the mouth.
yeah, yeah. It's
That
like, who cares? Yeah,
do,
yeah.
do,
And I
do,
understand. Yeah, I understand certain stuff like saying, okay, like the Mary head looks a bit too creepy, because I agree. I do think the Mary looks a bit too creepy in the live action. Maybe I'll get used to it, but you know, like I do think that's definitely a thing. But saying like, oh my god, it's like not the exact same color. It's like it doesn't matter, you know. It's like,
yeah, no. But the other thing too is that, and this will never change with anything, is that people don't know to judge something before it's actually out or officially presented. So,
yeah,
you know, it's just people will just hard react to things with anything. A trailer comes out for a movie if there's something they don't like, and it's like, but then they don't understand that maybe there was some sloppy visual effects in the trailer, but that movie is not going to come out for another 6 to 7 months. They're still working on that. It's not done. They're just giving
yeah.
you a taste, you know.
I
So
mean, I think that's unfortunately like still a part of showbiz, right? It's like you need to kind of like balance things out because of that. You need to sort of show things in that way. And I think that, like, to be fair, the PR for the live action has been like really good so far, because they've actually like sort of been trying to appeal to the fans and be very open about it and stuff like that. And like, you know, I mean, you know, the live action has done something that Shueisha hasn't been able to in years, and that's actually interact with content creators and the fan base.
yeah, exactly, but the other thing too is that the people involved have made it clear, you know. And I mean, like, we all know, you know, especially Matt's a huge fan,
Yeah,
you know. So it's like
exactly.
everything is in good hands. The casting is incredible. The
Yeah.
sets are phenomenal, and there's
It's so cool to see the cast of One Piece, because like it's not even like man, I'm like, man, who's gonna play Whoop Slap? You know, it's not even like the big guys. But sometimes I want to see like the small guys, like who's gonna play this character? Because like even the background characters, like they got an actor to play Ukari, who's like a marine who
Right,
appears
yeah.
for like 2 panels. Yeah,
Yeah, exactly. The guy who just scratches Morgan's statue.
yeah.
So it's like the little details are there, and that's phenomenal, you know. And you know, people are upset because they think it's going to be like every other live action and everything like that, and Cowboy Bebop didn't turn out the way that it should have. But that's not going to be an issue with One Piece, because the problem with Cowboy Bebop was they tried to stretch out something that really should have just been a limited series. And with One Piece, they don't need to do that. They don't need to create and fabricate stories for characters
And they have
that
a
were only in one
format,
episode.
right? Exactly. They literally just have a format, because I understand Cowboy Bebop, like the original, is more episodic, it's more like sporadic and everything, and I feel like that's harder to adapt. But One Piece, you just have a story that you can just stick to, you know, obviously while changing some things, but you ultimately have your work cut out for you in a lot of ways, right? And like the way that I see it is that if these guys cannot pull off a One Piece live action, no one can.
Yeah, pretty much.
And
you know, one of the big changes that I fully expect is that throughout the season, I believe that we'll see more of Kobe and Helmeppo. I believe we'll see more of Buggy and Elvita. I feel like those cover stories and all that stuff is just ripe material to like cut back and forth to. Because when you're writing a script and when you're creating a television show, you're always looking for something to move away to generate like a time skip, you know. So like while they're you know in Syrup Village and they're setting the traps and all that stuff before the morning, right before they're going to actually attack the Black Cat Pirates, perfect time to see Buggy looking for his parts, to see how Kobe's doing, you know.
Yeah, but I kind of wonder how much of that we are actually gonna see, because I feel like there's also the possibility that some stuff will just be cut out altogether. Like, legitimately, I feel it almost kind of makes sense to cut out Gaimon if it doesn't fit well in an episode. You know, as much as I want to see Gaimon in live action played by Danny DeVito, you know, I want to, you know, I don't think it's that essential, all things considered. And I think that people need to compromise a version that will cut out some things. Because personally, for example, I would love it at some point in the future, Toei does like a remastered version of One Piece that not only cuts out like all the anime filler and it's just the manga, but is even willing to cut out some manga scenes that aren't as essential. and just give a more compressed version of One Piece that like you can more easily get into. But the thing is, I know those source fans were like, "Oh, but this line was in the manga and it's not here," you know, and I get it, I think it's valid, right? But it's like, I wouldn't mind seeing something that is just a bit more compressed and a bit more accessible, you know, especially in a time where like 1,000+ episodes is so difficult.
Well, I don't think that it's impossible to take the entirety of the series, which is, 1,022 episodes now, I think, and get that to 500, 600 where it stands. And I think that that's possible even with the leaving all of the source material in there, and probably even taking the time to incorporate the cover stories. Cut out the filler, cut out the pacing. Essentially do what One Piece did, because One Piece is out there, and
exactly.
and it's 500, 600 episodes, so it proves that it can be done. As far as things that are being cut, like Gaimon and all of that, I truly believe that they could cut Gaimon, but at the same time, I think that Gaimon is even just being one chapter and all of that, it ties so well into just the themes of not only One Piece itself, but the core themes of East Blue.
Yeah.
Is it entirely necessary? But no. But it's, if they have the time, great. If not the biggest loss.
Yeah.
It's
more like pacing wise. How do you introduce it? Because you can't do like a whole episode on Gaimon, right? And it's
no,
like,
it would be
like,
something. It could be something quick. You could just have Gaimon be a guy on Sierra Village too. On the offskirts of the island, like, who knows? Oh, we don't go to that side of the island. There's ways to make it work, but then there's things like, don't necessarily need the Niaban brothers, don't need Pearl, like that's the kind of stuff
you can cut out those fights,
that you can compress there. So what's the thing you're most excited to see in the live action?
Honestly, like, everything long term, because like seeing East Blue is exciting, but it's like, especially with like how much effort they're putting into the sets. Like, imagine if this becomes like a big production, and I think it's an uphill battle. I am worried that they might not even get to Alabasta, because this needs to do well, because clearly Netflix is betting a lot on this. But if somehow it manages to go long term, like, imagine the sets they could do with something like Whole Cake Island. Like Whole Cake Island in real life, like that would be like insane.
Oh yeah,
or just seeing like all the things come to action. Man, how the hell are they even gonna do Fishman Island? Recording of the Mariana Trench.
No, you just do it on a stage. You just get anything that's underwater for the most part would just be CGI.
Yeah, imagine like the island and all the Sea Kings and stuff.
Yeah, so you have all of that. You still have the ship. You just wrap it around with blue green screen, and then blue or green screen, or you just do an LED projection like the Mandalorian does. And with the coding and everything. And most of the stuff with Fishman Island is basically like you have everything around, but that's just building the sets, having coral around and all of that, and then just making sure the outer layer of everything has a screen that can be later implemented. It's not as difficult as one would think.
But that's exciting,
Yeah, Fishman Island, I think, could be done easier than some.
What do you think would be the hardest sets to do?
I think one of the more difficult things would be
because Whole Cake Island, I can imagine more than anything just all the sets, and it's such an unconventional set, but
I would say
it's kind of like Willy Wonka's factory, sort of, but just kind of crazier.
Yeah, from a set design perspective, I think some of the most expensive things would be Whole Cake for sure. Thriller Bark, would be very very specific. Like there would just be a lot of set building that's going on there. It's more so the practical stuff that's just going to take a lot of time. It would be interesting to see how they, manage to make Annie's lobby work.
Yeah.
Not all of the inside stuff, because that's all sets, but like just
They're gonna build an island on a giant hole.
Yeah, no, well, they'll have to build a set that has like a green screen on the bottom of it, or some sort, or if they can make what they call the volume, like a bottom area where they can actually show that, that would be interesting. But it would be very expensive. It's just
What I've been thinking is just like it's insane that like something like the Mislav Duck, which is Alvida's ship, which appears in the manga, may I remind you, for like 3 pages. They built it entirely, and they'll probably use it a bit more than the manga, but like still, it's probably gonna be just a few minutes, and they built an entire ship just for that. So,
oh yeah, no, they're committed. I mean, it'll be interesting to see when we get into other, like the East Blue is pretty manageable for South Africa, right? But when we get into things like Drum, Alabasta, and even Water 7, are we going to go to somewhere like Greenland or Egypt, or are they going to go to Venice? That's the kind of stuff where it's going to cost way more because they've built their home in South Africa. They have their stages there. Are they going to just make everything on a stage and like create fake snow, or are they going to have a separate unit like Game of Thrones did, where they were doing things in England, and they were doing things in Ireland, and they were doing things in Greenland and Iceland?
But like, for example, in like Lockdown is based on Firenze, Florence, and they still are seemingly shooting it all in Africa. So
and that's just set building there, and then that particular studio down there also has a lot of different areas for different sets and all that stuff, and even some stuff that resembled Logtown. But I almost feel like Water 7 would be really difficult if they chose to go for a very practical look, with
because you have to do all the canals and stuff.
Right, and it would almost seem to be more cost effective to go to somewhere like Venice and and just use that, and then for anything that's indoors, go back to South Africa and finish that up. Or for any of the exteriors, do that. So that's the kind of thing that I think is more difficult to do. I think it's actually more difficult to do Water 7 than it is Whole Cake Island.
Yeah, that's a good point. Because I think a lot of it is specifically with how the landscapes of that area are, right? If it's like a ship, it's easy, right? If it's like just some houses, it's easy. But when you have something more complicated, like all those canals and stuff. Yeah,
because then you just, they have access to a lot of water tanks and everything there in South Africa, which is what they're, what they have the Bradiers set on. And I'm sure, they're going to be building a massive Arlong Park, which is the thing that I want to see the most. And that's what I'm so excited about. And then like a live demolition of that, chef's kiss. But
they better get the shot right.
they'll have 12 cameras on it and a drone, I'm sure.
And the thing is that like I kind of wonder how would something like Skypiea even work, right? Like the Cloud Sea and like the houses on top of the clouds. I'm sure there's a lot of CGI involved there, but still, like, I feel like there's so many things that how do you build those?
With that, since there's nothing like it in the world, you have to create it. So that's just a CGI environment completely.
Well, they just shoot in the air.
Yeah, just right up in the air.
Yeah, exactly. Just grab a plane, just do like some floating houses and stuff.
Yeah, get some pyro blowing,
shooting
right? Shoot it up in the air, create a sky island.
Shoot up 10,000 meters.
Yeah, no, that's all green screen, blue screen, or volume work there for sure.
Yeah, but still, for example, it's like the water of the clouds. It's like still and all that stuff. The houses being on top of clouds and the entire ground like being like real clouds. Is like, even with CGI, I wonder how can you make it feel believable that they are walking on clouds.
Well, that's the movie magic. That's
Yeah.
the kind of questions that come up and get presented to the the production designers and the props people and all of that. And essentially, something that they could probably do. I mean, I'm just thinking of it now, is to get that is build the set with the same sort of material that you would find at like a for America, a Sky Zone, or like a bouncy castle. So that, and then just lay that down, right? So that everything
Yeah.
like has these ebbs and ridges, and then you just throw
Oh, yeah.
these cloud fluff
Oh,
and
yeah.
all this stuff on top of it. And then as the actors are walking on it, you would never see them walking straight, because it's just going to
Oh man,
have this
yeah,
element
so
of something.
cool.
These are the the sort of ways to get around things like this, and that you have to come up with when you're making a television show and a movie. There's
Honestly,
always
honestly, I feel like it's almost a shame not to preserve these sets and just have it like somewhere in like Universal Studios Japan or something. Because like I mentioned on Twitter, right? And like Steven also retweeted this. Is like, man, I want to go to this bar. I want to go to the
Right.
bar at tea and like actually
Yeah.
eat there as a One Piece fan.
It's and that the sad truth of it
Oh,
is that I
yeah.
mean, they could probably preserve that, but the thing is that and you can even see it in the promo that they did, the EPK, that section of the set is just the front.
I know, yeah.
It's just the front, and then the bar is there as
Don't
well.
ruin
But
the
the other
magic.
side is just, but the other side is just wood. The
Yeah.
actual inside where they have that cool little
Yeah, no, we've seen the picture. I know.
yeah, that's on a soundstage, so it's not all together. It's not like you walk through into the Baratier, and once you walk inside, you just see everything. They're gonna do everything on the outside there, and then when they're on the inside, it's on the stage, and that's
Yeah.
how everything works. Usually.
Yeah, a lot of other sets it's like just the parts you see, but everything else is just kind of like unbuilt, right? It's not like if they create Skype, it's literally gonna be a Sky Island, with all the fluff and stuff.
I've worked on movies and TV shows where you'll see the outside of a house, you'll see the the inside, we'll have somebody walk into the house, we'll see them walk in, right? But everything that we're doing inside, right, is somewhere completely different or on a stage. And if there's different levels and floors, like the basement and the attic may be a completely different place or different house as well.
Yeah.
And then people go, and it's like, oh, this was the house that was in this movie, and then you walk in and it's like, why doesn't it look like this? Oh wait, let's go upstairs.
Yeah.
Oh no, this is different too. And it's like, no, you have to go over here
There
and see
is no
that room.
upstairs.
There is no
Yeah.
upstairs either. Yeah, sometimes that's the case too.
I mean, that stuff is fascinating, because obviously you've worked in film, and kind of like from the perspective of just the viewer, it's just gonna. So it's just been really crazy just hearing of all the magic that kind of goes behind the scenes.
Yeah, but that's also how I can look at what they're doing, and I'm that much more impressed because I can actually see what they're spending, and it is a lot.
Yeah,
and
like
it
I
is
said,
a
it's
lot
like
more than anything that I've seen in a long time.
I'm not an expert on this matter, but it's like I can also tell like this is a lot, right? It's like I said, they made these ships that like they made Garp's ship, which like only appears in like comic strips and stuff. It's like, what the hell?
Yeah, and they could have so easily just said, you know what, all of the ships are CGI. That's it. All of the ships, they're all just CGI. And
that for maybe the Mary or something, but yeah.
Yeah, make the Mary, like that's the one practical one, but they, somebody else that was running this definitely wouldn't have made the Miss Love Duck. For all we know, they've made the big top as well. And
yeah.
I mean, I would make sense to make the big top, right? I mean, it actually comes back a couple of times where the Miss Love Duck doesn't. So it's
I mean, it's like they're literally making One Piece in real life. I think that's the exciting thing that kind of gets like the child in me so excited for the One Piece live action, because this is something unlike anything we've ever seen for One Piece. And again, like, this is a very different scale, right? This isn't like some cheap live action, just getting some dudes in a cosplay and just making them like play around a small stage. Like, this is a big thing. Like, they're recreating all these things for One Piece.
Yeah. No, this is. I've seen Marvel movies put less effort into their productions.
Yeah. Oh. The only thing that worries me about that is that if there is such a big budget, I do feel that Netflix is expecting it to perform like really well, and I am kind of worried that if it will not like perform like really really well, then it's like, okay, can it?
Yeah,
it is a big gamble.
That's there, and if the community doesn't even give it a shot, then that'll hurt as well. And that's why everybody just kind of has to give it a shot.
That's a difficult thing.
And
Yeah.
And the other thing too is don't people can't bomb it. Like, let it get that season 2, let it get to Alabasta. Like, because the other thing that I always say too is, like, this show isn't necessarily for us. Yeah, it is, but it's also more than anything to bring in new people that would have never read the manga, watched the anime, but deserve to have these stories in their lives. There's so many messages and themes and everything, and it's just it's like, people deserve to see Nami's backstory. They deserve to see Chopper's backstory. They deserve to see Arlong Park, but they don't know what it is. But they'll be scrolling on Netflix and they'll see, oh, what is this? Oh, and they start watching it and they're like, oh, I like this. When's the next season coming out?
That's kind of what hurts me this so much, is that like I feel that there's so many people that like legitimately just won't give it a shot, right? And I feel that's kind of something that kind of happened with Cowboy Bebop to an extent, and I'm sure that Cowboy Bebop had its problems, because I'm not a Cowboy Bebop fan, so I don't really know, but I did hear like, I feel the consensus was that, like, what, this is actually kind of good, but there are some problems, but there is actually like some really good potential here. That's basically it. But I feel like so many people are like, this is trash, this is garbage, I'm not even gonna touch it or whatever. And that probably is one of the things that led to its very crippling views. And I'm just kind of worried that, like, even with all they're doing, because they're gaining the support of so many fans, I'm trying to do my part. I'm trying to do my part in all of this, and I would like to think at least a little bit I'm helping. But, it's kind of like, I feel like it's important that we give the idea to One Piece fans that's like, hey, this is something worth at least giving a shot. This is something that's looking good, and like I'm kind of starting to see that a bit in the community. I'm seeing people saying like, wait a second, the casting looks really good. Wait a second, the set pieces actually look really good. Like, hey, this could actually be good. I see it in my quote retweets like all the time that it's like increasing, and like I think that it is important to keep that momentum, and like that's gonna be the real gamble. Like, is that gonna be enough on a big scale to really have people like actually give this a shot? Or will the curse of live action not even give the chance for this to at least, get seen? At least give it a shot,
At the end of the day, we'll at least be able to say that we tried. But I think it's going to be great, because the other thing too is that before there was a good superhero movie, or a couple of good ones, there were a bunch of bad ones, and that is the industry trying to figure out how to make it work. And we've seen anime, manga, movies, but never really television shows. We've seen these movies come out and they try to compress, it's one thing to try and compress a book into 2.5 hours, but to try and compress something that has hundreds of episodes, or even 30 episodes, which is already longer than one book, into just another 2 hours. Never worked, right? So, and I said for a long time, this isn't going to work until the Hollywood realizes that you need to do this in television, right? So that was the first thing that Cowboy Bebop did correctly. But Cowboy Bebop is a 24 episode show that really should have just been a 12 episode limited series, instead of trying to drag things out for multiple seasons. So I think that was one of the big downfalls of that. One Piece, by being an episodic show where the characters can grow over the seasons, where we can go from A to B, all of East Blue, in the span of 10 or so hours, that works. That checks out. You know,
Yeah,
you
I
watch
think
episode
that,
of East Blue, it doesn't work.
yeah, I think the problem as well is that a lot of people say that like live actions have never like been very good with anime and stuff, but I think a lot of it is because generally it never feels like studios have like really tried with anime live actions. You know, I feel like Cowboy Bebop is like one of the first where like it feels like they're actually trying to make this work rather than like whatever, you know, it's a thing, it's just for a bit of promotion or whatever. Because there's a lot of Japanese live actions of anime and they're awful because the live action world in Japan isn't as strong as others. But like, you know, it feels like now for the first time they are actually trying to make things work and they are sort of testing the waters. But you know, they're actually putting effort into this. They're actually trying to make like it work rather than just do a quick cash grab, which was what a lot of live actions of anime have been for the longest time.
Yeah, I mean, especially Dragon Ball Evolution.
Yeah.
One of in the chat, I love this. My guy Vernon Co said, "Always remember, live action isn't for us. It's for the people that wouldn't find the story otherwise. If it gets one or two people to experience the story we love, that's a W right there."
Yeah. But it also needs to be for One Piece fans, and it needs the One Piece fans to give it the push that it needs to get up there, and that's kind of the part. And that's kind of like the thing
it's
that
for
I
all
want.
of it, but for more. But I want. It's all if it's for us.
The problem.
If it's
the
for
problem
us,
is that
it'll be for
people-
other people.
The problem is that people see it as something like its existence is a hindrance to One Piece, but it's like, no, it's like, and we've seen this with Dragon Ball Evolution, and actually, like, more specifically, in the 90s, Nintendo was proposed to make a Mario movie, and the reason why they agreed is because they said, Mario is so strong of a brand that even if this movie is terrible, it will not stop this brand. And it was true, the movie was awful, but Mario still remained, and it's a worldwide brand, right? And they're trying again now, like, Dragon Ball hasn't gone bankrupt because the movie sucked. Dragon Ball is still doing amazingly. Exactly, and it will be the same for One Piece, and it's not gonna hurt people, right? There's nothing wrong with having this, you know, and I mean, a lot of people always kind of get hung up with the whole thing. It's like, I don't want to like have expectations for something because what if it turns out to be bad? If it's bad, it's bad. It's fine. We'll laugh it off and we'll forget about it in a day. There's nothing to lose here for us. Literally, the only one who has something to lose is Netflix with the money, but that's the gamble they're taking. We as fans lose nothing. So it's like, you know, that's the thing that I kind of want to ask out of One Piece fans in general is just give it a shot. Just watch the episodes or a couple of episodes. If you watch them like, man, this is awful, drop it, leave it, but at least give it a chance.
Yeah. I mean, that's all we have to do. That's all we have to do. But I mean,
Yeah,
I do hope that
Mhm.
it at least gets to that season 2 mark, because I think if it'll get to season 2, it'll
Yeah.
get to season 10.
Yeah. I feel like season 1 is the biggest like challenge that it needs to clear. Like it needs to do well there. And you know, I mean, like you said as well, is just people have such an obsession of like judging things before they're actually out. Like it's the typical thing, you know, sometimes you see with like reviews. I especially see it with video games. It's like, you know, like, man, I'm excited for this game, you know, and it's like, wait, IGN only gave it an 8. Why? It's gonna be an amazing game. And it's like, have you played it? No, but I know it's gonna be an amazing game, you know. And then you play, it's like, oh yeah, it is a bit mediocre, you know. It's like there's this obsession with like judging things before they come out, and it's like judging every trailer, and unfortunately, you know,
it's
part of the
natural. It's
industry
been
to
going
break
on.
that.
It's been going on for years. You see it with casting all the time. In the late 80s, people actually sent letters into Warner Brothers because they didn't want Michael Keaton to be Batman. They were like, he's a comedian. He's Mr. Mom, you know. And then come to find out, you know, you ask most people who their favorite Batman is, they'll probably say Keaton over most. When Heath Ledger was cast as the Joker, there was this gigantic internet push, which was awful, against it. And then the movie comes out, and he's lauded as the best Joker of all time. It's just, we'll judge things when they come out. Give it a shot. Give it a chance. If it ends up being, if something is bad, then it's bad. But
It's
wait,
fine
but wait.
to have bad stuff. Yeah, exactly. I mean, like, we've already seen that with some of the casting of the live action, you know, with, like, some people's like, oh, but, like, this casting or this casting, but at the end, I feel like people just get used to it, you know?
Yeah, and there's just...
They're not identical to the manga character.
Oh my god. They're not a
You mean that
cartoon.
You mean that Shanks' actor has 2 arms? Why?
Whoa!
Yeah. I remember, like, there was, like, when, you know, they casted Arlong, you know, and it's like, people was like, wait, why is it a black man? And people are like, yeah, man, come on, why couldn't they find a blue man? A purple man, come on. That's so racist, they couldn't get a purple man.
Oh my god. Yeah. Wow.
And there's also, like, a lot of people that, like, I feel like don't understand that, like, the pictures we've got of the cast so far, they're not in costume. Like, why is Sanji bald? And it's like, well, they're gonna use a wig, right? It's like, it's not like Tazca or maybe not or something, but it's like, you know, it's not like that's exactly how it is, right?
And is
Obviously,
it,
Arlong
and is it,
isn't
and
just
is it
gonna
the
be
end
a-
of the world if that is his hair in the show?
Yeah, exactly, as well, you know, but
It's
like,
not.
it's not like... yeah. I mean, but, like, the thing I've argued as well is, like, what if, like, Usopp's nose isn't long? It can work.
Oh, I've said
You
that
know?
forever.
Exactly.
I don't
What if
want
someone has a
Usopp's
different hairstyle,
nose
yeah?
to be long.
Yeah.
It makes no difference to me.
You know, but, like, I was shocked that some people legitimately thought that Arlong's actor was just gonna be, like, a black man on set, just, like, pretending to be a fishman, and it's like, well, of course it's gonna be, like, some type of, you know...
They're gonna have
prosthetic
they're gonna have
or, you know,
special
CGI
effects,
or not.
prosthetics, all that kind of
Yeah,
stuff mixed
of
with
course,
CGI
yeah.
to move gills,
Yeah.
whatever. There's gonna be a whole bunch of stuff going on there.
Yeah.
Oh man, what was the... oh man, I lost it. I remember something that would have been, you know, people were complaining about that was really silly. Oh yeah, that's it. People legitimately are like, you know, if these characters aren't actually, you know, like 10 feet tall or 20 feet tall, I'm gonna be mad. And it's like, they're building the ships. Do you want them to waste money making characters taller? That's a difficult thing to do, by the way. That's a difficult thing to do.
I can imagine.
And it you know, because you have to basically at that point you have to shoot everything green screen because you have to manipulate the size of a character, or you have to shoot everything from a really weird perspective and design everything, and the camera can't really move most of the time.
But why did they not cast 10 feet tall people?
I mean, hey, you know what? That's a fair thing to say.
Yeah, no, but that's a great point, right? It's like, there are going to be some... But, like, I said it, like, it seems silly, but I legitimately got a comment on one of my tweets of someone said, like, but why isn't the Barati green, like, in the manga? And it's like, you know, they're changing the color of the wood. It's fine. You know, not everything is going to be identical.
Yeah. Why doesn't Bucky's actor not have a red nose?
Yeah.
Jeff Ward needs a red... They should have found somebody. They should have gotten an actual clown.
You know, Shanks' actor should have cut off his arm to get into the role.
Hey, you know what?
Yeah.
I need to see that you're committed.
Yeah.
Do it. Peter Gaudio, chop it off.
But we need One Piece... We need, like, actors with, like, those One Piece necks.
Oh, yeah.
Like,
oh, yeah. Yeah.
What do you mean that Nami's actress has a waist?
Oh man, yeah. How are they gonna do the tattoo? Will she just get a real tattoo? I don't know. We could go on and on and on about this kind of stuff, and it's just like when it comes out, everyone will see and we will know. Right.
I think it's also just a matter of ignorance, right? It's just like some people just don't know.
People don't know. So I mean, that's why I made my video series, to try and, you know, educate, because I'm trying to limit that one, the negativity, but like two, that I'm trying to give insight so that you do understand a little bit of what's happening behind. Because the last thing that everybody in South Africa needs right now is pressure from the fans and the internet to make it what it already is looking like it already is. Yeah. So it's just let them work, let them do it.
I think they should like continue a little bit of this cycle of showing like some actors here and some stuff there, because it's working really well, I feel, within the community. I feel like people are starting to feel a lot more reassured than they used to. There was some excitement at first, but I feel like the more actors we see, the more sets we see, and like the more stuff we see, like people are like turning from like, oh yeah, this is gonna be disastrous, this is live action, to like, hey, this could be good. And I think that they need to continue embracing that little by little.
Shout out to Very Motivated in the chat, who said, Zeph's actor hasn't cut off his own leg and eaten it? Hard pass.
I can't believe they managed to find Zeph as the actor for Zeph.
He's good.
It is insane how closely he looks to Zeph.
He's real good.
I mean, it's insane how close, like, all the characters look to each character, It's like, because, like, even actors who, like, look a bit different than the character, they capture that energy. Like, I mentioned that, Kura's actor, for example, like, looks a bit different with his hair or whatever, just slightly, but, like, he has that, like, rich fuckboy energy that Kura has,
Right.
Like, he captured that so well. And I see so many actors, and they're not even in a role, but just seeing them, it's like, man, I can see this character, right?
Yeah, no, when I went and I saw, and shout out to Alexander Maniatis, he took a clip of the video I did where I was showing everybody clips of his work, and he put it on his Instagram and stuff. But his he was one of my like not so secret favorites from that video, because I watched him and I was just like, I see it.
Yeah.
I see it. It's here. He's going to bring this like really interesting nuance to both sides of Kuro, and I can't wait. It's and Syrup Village needs that, because that's the litmus test. It's like it's the hurdle that every new reader or watcher has to get past, and it's where a lot of people drop the series. So I just hope that they take immense care to not only maybe like truncate Syrup Village, but just really make it just,
because in the
really
manga it's fairly long for how early it is. Like you said, we don't need Evan Brothers. We don't need a lot of stuff. It can be streamlined. And I know that on IMDb there was like a description of like, or like a title of each episode. I don't know how reliable that is, so I don't want to necessarily rely on that. But it does seem like they are trying to sort of at least get through the earlier parts fairly fast, if that's any reference. But
I mean, and that's the best thing to do. Spend more time in Baradier, spend more time in Arlong Park.
Exactly. And then culminate it all with like lockdown and properly kind of focus on that without kind of just scrunching it all. Kind of how it was originally manga. It's kind of like with the retrospective of everything, just being able to set up things better, right? Sort of establish certain things better and just be able to plan out things more easily now that you kind of have everything in front of you. Yeah, like I said, it's not just like Kuro, but it's like all the actors just encompass everything so well. It's like, I see Jeff Ward, I haven't seen any of his works, but it's like, I see his eyes, I see that buggy energy.
Oh, he's got the buggy energy, don't worry.
Yeah.
He's got it. He's got it. It's gonna be great.
Oh, I am so excited.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
I just want to see more of it. It's something surreal, because like a lot of One Piece fans kind of get hung up. It's like the manga's the only thing that matters, right? It's like the anime is stupid. Who cares about the movies? They're not canon, right? Who cares about the games? But and I get it, right? For a more casual fan, I can get that you only care about the source material, because I'm the same with some other works. But with One Piece, it feels like they always kind of try to put effort to make the extra material more interesting, right? Give you reasons to watch the anime, to watch the movies, to play the games, to read the extra content and all that stuff. And that's exciting, because only the manga every week can get a bit tiresome after a while. Maybe it's also because I'm a content creator, but I like this variety. I like new ways to experience One Piece, and the live action is just like the culmination of all of that, right?
I take it all in, I get all the games, I play the games, I have Bounty Rush on my phone, and I log in every day, if not play a match. And I've played just about every One Piece game. I've seen every movie. I'm excited for Film Red.
How are you feeling about Film Red?
I think it would have been better if Toei just waited for Wano to end, so that we could really just sort of have something that may reasonably fit in between Wano and whatever the next arc is.
But it is ending in the manga, right?
What's that?
It is ending in the manga, so it is fitting like really nicely, right?
Yeah. I mean, it should, but it's also like most movies, they end up, other than Strong World, which I feel really fits in between Thriller Bark and meeting
So
Duval, right? Like you could just insert it there, and it's like, okay, this is great. Every other film is sort of in this nebulous zone where it doesn't really fit anywhere. It's
but
like
like
it's like
it
Z is really supposed to be between Fishman Island and Punk Hazard, but the way it all sort of
like
works.
I'm personally fine with that because, like, none of the movies are canon, ultimately, not even Strong World. And it's, you know, the problem to me is, like, a lot of people are like, oh, but is it canon or not? Like, it really matters to the timeline. But to me, what matters is that it feels like canon. It feels like a One Piece experience because as much as we try to integrate them in the story, they're not parts of the original One Piece manga, right? And it's like,
Yeah.
you're not, even Strong World, even if it fits so nicely, you can't really, like, have it be like like it feels like part of One Piece. You can skip Strong World and miss nothing because that's how it's structured. So I appreciate that it feels like movies more recently are more trying to just do their own thing, right? Like Stampede, for example, is like, okay, it's non-canon. Let's get everyone here. Let's
Right.
have all the supernovaes
Right.
interacting together. Even if that's impossible.
That's so much
right?
fun. So much fun.
Sorry, but that's so much fun. Yeah.
Yeah.
And like with Red, we're getting like also it just kind of feels like they're trying to do a lot of different things with it, right? And they're trying to kind of get involved Shanks, even though maybe the story could be a bit difficult at the moment. Who knows?
Yeah. So that becomes the whole question of I as far as I'm concerned, Luffy and Shanks are never going to have any sort of interaction in this movie.
No,
Because
I wouldn't. I wouldn't rule it out because Oda said, "Will Luffy and Shanks meet?"
oh no,
So
they'll never meet first in a movie. Not with Shanks. Saying at Marineford it's not time, and then for Shanks to say it is time. It's not time in the movie.
now let's see if this ages well or not.
What's that?
Let's see if this ages well or not, because I wouldn't be so sure.
Oh, I'm saying it right now. We'll see Shanks in the film, but Shanks and Luffy will not have a conversation. They will not. They will miss each other throughout every single turn. Even if he shows up and meets with Uta, Luffy is going to be somewhere else. It's not the time there. We're gonna see it in the manga first. But I do think
I wouldn't completely rule it out. At the very least, I wouldn't completely rule it out. But I do understand.
I am.
I think it is always possible. I feel like something has, like they're gonna enter this movie, and I do feel like I've seen so many people like, oh, Shanks is gonna appear for like 2 minutes in a flashback, and that's it. Obviously, Shanks isn't the protagonist. Uta is essentially with Luffy, but I do think that Shanks will play a bit of a bigger role than people think. I do think at the very least he is gonna appear for like a fourth of the movie or something like that, and I think they are sort of withholding that from trailers because they don't want to show it too much. But it's like I don't think they were just gonna like see Shanks appear at the end like this and that's that, because they are still marketing this as a movie that involves Shanks, and I don't think they're going like 100% full clickbait and literally just including Shanks just to sell stuff. I do think that he will have some presence. He's not the protagonist. He's not the central character. He probably won't appear for most of the movie, but I do think he will appear for a significant time. And I want to think that we might actually get a first proper insight, at least just some teasers that later will be elaborated upon in the manga, of what Shanks' character really is like, because he said some things in the trailer that are really interesting.
Oh yeah. No, his views on the world and justice and everything coming through into the trailer. I like that stuff because that's the kind of insight that Oda puts in, and I'm sure that he had a lot to say with anything that had to do with Shanks in the film. So we're going to be able to dissect that and get some stuff there.
He said the movie he's involved the most with, which is like a big deal.
Yeah, that's the exciting part. So I think ultimately, the character of Uta will probably be canon and may get mentioned or something at some point, but I don't think whether she shows up in the manga or not is.
I am fairly biased, but I am really, really interested in this character because we are essentially getting a One Piece musical, and that just kind of excites me in a lot of ways because, I don't know if you've seen, but they've revealed the musical cast of the movie and all the artists working on it, and there's like so many incredible artists working on this stuff, and like the songs they've released so far are so insanely good that I'm all here for it. And I know that's like a very niche thing that most One Piece fans will not care about, But the fact that we're getting like Hiroyuki Sawano and Fake Type like working with Ado to like make One Piece tracks is like, wow, insane.
I haven't listened to any of the songs because I'm just gonna. I just want to experience that in the movie.
Yeah,
I watched the
kinda-
trailers, but that's about it.
I've been tempted not like to like not listen to the songs, but like I've been addicted to them because they're really good. Like in my opinion, even just the 2 songs they've released so far, I have to let them grow on me, but they could be like up there with some of the best One Piece openings. Like this is a good soundtrack, and like Ado is such an incredible singer. There's a reason why she's been blowing up, and she works so well in this case that I am absolutely ready for all of this stuff.
Yeah, I just saw that they're so Japan's
Like,
gonna get it first, and then everybody else is gonna get it this fall. So we're gonna,
Yeah, I mean,
it's gonna be hard to avoid spoilers.
Yeah, well, I want to go to Japan this summer if possible, but with the borders being closed, thanks Momo, the things it's gonna be a bit complicated. But you know, like it depends. I mean, it does seem like it probably will open in the second half of this year, but it's a matter, will it open this summer, will it open later, so I don't know like really when I can go. But otherwise I'm just gonna go to France because they have it like 3 days later, and so like there I can just watch the and boom, easy. Yeah, like waiting an entire like waiting like several months is like hellish because you know, I had to do it when I was younger for like the other movies, and it's rough, right? Like Stampede was the first movie that I got the chance to see in Japan. It's like actually getting to see it on release day is like such a special feeling, right? Especially when you make like the pilgrimage.
Yeah, Stampede was great too because it was basically it wasn't that much of a difference between when Japan had it and when at least the US had it. So
yeah, it was like a couple of months like that. Yeah. Like with Stampede as well, is like I remember like when there was, you know, the whole like thing with Laugh Tale, because that was the first time it was mentioned. That was sort of when like my theory of what the One Piece is really came first into place, and it's like going to like the cinema, like traveling all the way there, and just kind of getting like this reveal and everything was like wow. And I know like there's some people that like are a bit annoyed that like sometimes they reveal like some manga stuff in like the movies, but like being there in the theater, feeling the hype, and getting like that big reveal is just like insane. There's a really big difference between like being at your laptop reading a chapter and just being there in the theater, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah. No, my wife Chrissy and I we saw Stampede together, and it was something special for sure. I do wish that the Laugh Tale thing was saved for 967, or at least the movie came out after 967. But
yeah, but like imagine the hype getting that like in the theater, right? And unfortunately, the One Piece fan base pulled it like very fast because that's kind of how fans are. But you know, like imagine if like somehow they found a way to like adapt the he laughed scene like in theaters to see like, oh my god, like imagine some of the hypest moments in the manga, but like in anime form on the theaters for the first time. You know?
Oh man,
like.
Need that. You know, like imagine if we go into Film Red and it's the first time that we see Gear 5 animated. You know?
Yeah. Stuff like that. I mean, like, you know, because like as much as I love the manga, because it is amazing and it is a great format, I do feel like for the hype it is like it's not quite the same thing as kind of like the anime, right? Or like a movie, because like you're there on your room on a laptop and you're just reading pages without music or without anything, and all this art is amazing.
Well, that's why I always listen to the OST when I read the manga.
Yeah, I mean the same, but you know, still it's not the same thing. Right?
It's not the same. I always get more out of the anime usually because the voice acting, you know, is so nostalgic. The music is always great.
And I do think the manga is the more like consistently good product in the long run, and it is like the version of One. But it's like for that initial experience, like the anime just hits. Like imagine like those anime onlys that got to experience chapter 1000 with like episode 1015. Like imagine like that would have just ascended things if that was like the first way I experienced it.
Yeah, just astral projection.
Yeah, and imagine like that I remember in France, for example, they literally played episode 1000 in cinemas, and people just went there and just seeing like all the energy was like, oh my god.
Wow.
I do hope the in France, I do hope the premiere is exciting because I remember that Moncorvo, which are like some French One Piece YouTubers. I don't know if you know them.
I'm not familiar with them, but I do know that
Yeah.
France has a lot of great, a big fan
Yeah,
base.
so Moncorvo, which are like these friends of mine, really really cool guys that they basically organized the French Stampede premiere in like this big theater, thanks to like the provider in France, and they got like this like thing like you can find the videos of this French Stampede premiere, and it's like everyone there like going Arte Cano, you, it's like I want to see that energy. I hope that I can see it if I can watch Ren in France, because like being there with all those people, all those One Piece fans, is like insane.
Let's see here. Let's see.
Yeah, you cut off for a second, I think, but.
Oh, I cut out. Yeah, no, I'm here.
Yeah, no, but
Yeah. So let's see. So we're getting pretty close to the 2-hour mark, which is normally when I start to wrap up streams. Figure I'll take a look at the chat, see if there's any cool questions that we can get into. Oh, hey. Shout out to Parvision in the chat, the Hidden Islands in the chat. Those are other One Piece YouTubers. Kev Dog.
I'm getting flashbacks to that time we had a whole It's Morgan time thing.
Oh man, oh god, I was laughing so hard, man. I was laughing so hard. The last time you were in the stream, and then we went to Morgan's stream, and it was just It's Morgan time, and just spamming it.
Then just full of us. It was amazing. Morgan's streams are like really entertaining. There was like this, I don't know if you've seen it, this stream he did recently where the fans asked him to do a Bollywood dance, and he kept like teasing like, I'm gonna be doing a Bollywood dance continuously, and like it was like, if we get to like 1,000 likes, I'm gonna do the Bollywood dance, right? And like we got 1,000 likes, guys, we're almost there at 1,200 likes, and he somehow managed to get like the viewership of his stream like really massive. It's all this stuff.
And I guarantee he never did the Bollywood dance.
Exactly. He was like, all right, guys, we're almost there, and he ended the stream. This is the story. There's like this video on YouTube, like this clip that is like Morsh talking about the Bollywood dance for 10 minutes.
Now everybody in the chat is saying it's Morgan time.
Yeah, of course, it's more than time.
Let's see. Shout out to Data Deficient earlier, said One Piece as the quintessential story is very similar to Moby Dick. Melville's goal was to write a novel about everything, or the ultimate fishtail, so as chapters written like a play, similar to what Oda did with Wano. I like that.
To me, like, One Piece kind of makes me think of the One Piece of like the Odyssey. You know, it feels like an Odyssey of the modern time.
That's what I say all the time. I compare One Piece to the Iliad and the Odyssey constantly. It is a modern epic that I hope and pray generations from now is studied.
Mm.
You know, it's just some
it kind
random.
Of makes me wonder because, like, even for example, right now, like people kind of sort of talk of Tolkien scholars for like the people who like analyze Tolkien, you know, and like, you know, I don't really want to think of it like that big in any way, but like I do kind of wonder if like the content that we're making, like some people like look at it in some form, not in the same way, right? Of course, like I don't think like, it's comparable. I don't think we're like go down in history as like Oda analyzer or something, but it's like still, I wonder if One Piece will cement itself in such a pop, you know, culture, like such a content-filled, media-filled world as it is right now, compared to years past.
I mean, I could totally see there being classes, college classes, high school classes, where they're just sort of breaking down, you know,
who's stronger, Zoro or Sanji?
No, I don't think they would go into that, but I think they would go into the more, you know, effective themes of, you know, freedom, unity, and all of that. You know, oh god, just classes doing power scaling.
It's just, I love the idea, like in the year 2500, like they study the power scaling of One Piece.
Yeah.
Were the
So-
admirals really strong?
So if a base Marine's Doriki is 10, then what is endgame Luffy's Doriki? You know, and they're sitting there trying to, and then they have a whole mathematical equation for it.
Scholars debate that Yonko were in fact stronger than the admirals.
I mean, you know, I don't really feed into the whole power scaling thing, but I think admirals are above the Yonko.
What?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah. Yes. Yes.
How? Why? Oh my god. We've inadvertently opened Pandora's box.
We just beat 2 of the Yonko. We have never beaten an admiral. The admirals are being saved for the end game, so clearly they are the pinnacle of everything.
No. Like I said, the admirals serve a different role in the story. They're not there to be big baddies. The big baddies are
and
going to be
Akainu are not going to be big baddies. I think it's going to be. I think it's going to be Akainu versus Luffy, Sanji versus Kizaru, and Zoro versus Green Bull.
Wait, did you say Zoro and Akainu?
Luffy and Akainu. Luffy and Akainu.
Okay.
Sanji and Kizaru, Zoro and Green Bull.
Zoro kills Akainu.
Yeah, ZKA. There we go. No, Luffy and Akainu. And I think that I don't necessarily know if
it's a group match. Honestly, I
What's
would
that?
say because I think that I disagree with it in the fact that I do think Akainu will be fun in some way, but I think it's the type of thing where, like, honestly, I wouldn't even be surprised if we see Sabo versus Akainu rather than Luffy. And I think maybe Kizaru might be more way, but I think that Fujitora and Ryokugi are going to be more on our side, and I think the Admirals will just play a different role. I don't think the Admirals are there as just big baddies on a checklist we need to take care of.
I think that Fujitora will switch and he will be on our side in the end of all of it, but I think that Ryukyu as a Akainu simp is going to be something a challenge.
I feel like Fujitora and Ryukugi are very much like in tandem, like Oda said in the SBS, right? I feel like they kind of come as a pair back. I kind of see it difficult, but I don't know.
Well, I mean, we'll certainly know once we get 1054, 1055, and all of that, and we see where his true allegiances lie and everything like that. But even though with Akainu, I would even prefer a ideological or philosophical battle, whereas like having Akainu's idea of what justice is being challenged by Luffy. So, because here he is, he's got absolute justice. He's been fighting for the world government, whether he disagrees with them or not, right? But at the end of the day, if his whole world was turned upside down and he realizes that, he was on the wrong side of everything, I think that he would be so steadfast in his resolve that he would just, similar to Bellamy at the end of Dressrosa, not be able to switch sides. I think that he would just, I'm on the wrong side, so be it. I made my choice.
Yeah, because I really don't know how One Piece fans would take it if Akainu got redeemed or something.
No. There's no redemption for Akainu at all. I mean, my ideal scenario is just he just jumps out of a window or jumps into, it just jumps into the sea. It's just like, I'm done. I made the wrong choice. I can't live with myself.
That's still a bit of a redemption, though. I do think that maybe some people go like so much on the other extreme that like, but it's like it's like I do think like Akainu is someone fairly ruthless. We've seen that, and like that's fine. It's like
Ohara.
One Piece isn't even big on. Yeah, I should know, but I mean Akainu. Oda isn't even like that big on redeeming villains unless they're girls, unfortunately. But I feel like with like
ulti redemption incoming.
Yeah, I mean, but like Ulti, Black Maria, and Monet are like some of the few like big female villains I can think of, like Oda not redeemed, because like it's always kind of like the same thing, right? I remember when Hiyori appeared in Wano, right? I'm like, oh, she's evil. I'm like, yeah, sure thing, Oda, right? Sure, yeah.
No, but it was also like when she appeared in the manga. It's like at the end of the chapter, Momo's like, yeah, I had a sister. And it's just
oh,
okay, all right. So we just met Momo's sister. All right.
Yeah, and people were like, "Oh no, it's not confirmed." And I'm like, "Come on, guys, please. This is basic reading comprehension."
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's also the Sukiyaki reveal. It's just basic comprehension.
Yeah.
Looking for the clues.
Yeah,
Kokeshi
yeah,
doll
that's the
collector.
thing. Same voice actor and stuff, and I mean that is something that kind of got confirmed more as it went on, right? But like, still, I do feel that or something. It is also like, because for example, because I also it was like contributing the trader. It was like the thing is like, if you were into like the One Piece theory crafting community, it was like so obvious because there were like so many things going for it. But it kind of like it didn't really dawn on me that like for most readers it was still a shock because they aren't in that like theory crafting community where like look at like every detail. And it's kind of gotten to this point like I don't want to say this in like in an arrogant or entitled way, and I'm not even saying this about me but about the community in general, but I'm kind of wondering if we're getting to the point where it's actually getting hard for Oda to really surprise us with something that someone hasn't already called, because like most plot twists everybody calls, maybe plot developments that
Here,
are
hold
just
on one
happening.
second.
But
I'll be right back. I'll be right back.
Yeah. Yeah, don't worry.
If you have the chat up or anything, feel free to talk to them. I'll be right back.
Oh, Chad. Hi. How are you guys doing? It's a nice day, isn't it? Really nice weather. Remember, guys, Zoro's gonna kill Akainu. Jenna. I am not used to having a chat all on my own, my god. Well, it also really doesn't help that the chat is severely delayed. I think it's like a minute behind for me, so... And now I'm just looking like I'm talking on my own. Ask me something, please. This is too much pressure. Hey, I'm fully getting the messages. All right. Hey, everyone. Thank you. I'll ask Randy to check the super chats later. I'm hoping to go to Japan this summer, but again, it just depends on everything. Also depends on my health and stuff, but I just want to go back. I've been missing it way too long, and I need to go back there to live for a while. You think Rock's flashback is still coming in Wano? No. I think that's going to be saved for the final saga because that's too big of a deal. Will we see more things on Laugh-Tale beyond the treasure? I think so. I think the entire ancient civilization will be present on Laugh-Tale. Am I getting better? Yes, I am, slowly. I am slowly improving, so thank you. Okay, Randy, I kept the chat entertained. I hope that's enough.
Yeah.
That's a lot of pressure, damn.
Sorry about that. But hey, gives you a taste of the streaming life there.
Yeah, exactly. The streamer life.
Let's see.
Someone was saying that you skipped some super chats.
Yeah, I do have to get into a bunch of them actually. But first, my wife wanted to say hi. So.
Oh.
Hey. Oh wait. Got the? Do you have it? Wait.
I've been told she's a fan.
I'm a huge fan. Hi.
Oh, hi. Thank you.
Yeah.
Man, this is weird.
No, because when Randy got me into One Piece like years ago, I was on Reddit all the time. Like I was a Reddit fiend, and I saw that your website was updated like every week. So while I was like watching and reading One Piece for the first time, that you were like my guide too. Randy was my in-person guide, but you were also my guide, and I enjoyed your website so much. So like I was so excited for this theory for Theory. Like I was talking to Randy about it all week.
I'm so happy. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Your website's amazing, and your Twitter's great too. So, yeah.
Weird. I haven't really had much stuff like this, so I mean, I get this through text all the time, but hearing someone like say it in person is very, very humbling. So thank you.
Oh yeah, no problem. Yeah, I'm getting all Barto up here. I wish you had the Barto emoji still, Randy.
Oh yeah.
But anyway, I'll let you go. I gotta go back to it with Mars, but bye.
Bye. Thank you. Thanks for coming by.
Now we get the Chrissy cameo.
Success.
Hey man, you know that's what you get for being a community staple, man. Very motivated said log entry 62422. Chrissy and Artur interact. Chrissy is. It's funny because the community knows, because she'll talk about how you're one of her favorite content creators.
Yeah. This is something I still like find it weird to get used to, you know, because sometimes it's like, oh yeah, like I do have a lot of people following me, right? And it's not like, you know, like an arrogant, like vain way, but it's like, oh my god, it's like anytime like I tweet a dumb meme, thousands of people are gonna see it.
Yeah.
It's a lot of pressure, right? Especially, you know, especially when you get to this level, it does become like kind of like something that you need to start being careful about, right? And like, you know, when you're a small content creator, like you don't really like need to worry about it. It's like, okay, you know, I'll say whatever I want, or like very easily, or you don't have to worry much. But it's like when you're like, you kind of get to this level, it's like every time you like tweet anything, it's like, okay, let me like rethink it 6 times. Should I tweet this? Am I gonna offend someone? Am I gonna piss off someone? Because unfortunately, it is what it is. You can't always just think about this stuff so freely.
I have in the past. I you know, like I mean, I only have 5,000 subscribers on Twitter, which I still even think is a ridiculous amount of people to follow me on Twitter.
I have 150,000.
I know you have 150,000, so it's like you know, it's completely different. But you know, and prior to doing YouTube, I barely used Twitter, so I only had like 400 or something. So I only have 25,000 subs on YouTube, which is still, you know, cool. I love it. But it's like I've made some tweets that upset some people, and it's like I'm just sharing my opinion.
Imagine, yeah. As much as you can say that you need to kind of like start sort of preventing, especially like after a certain point, you need to start thinking, you know, like, is this gonna piss off some people? And just live with the fact that you will piss off some people.
Exactly. And I've never pretended to be anything less than a savage. So
yeah. Exactly. Sticking to the brand.
Yep. Oh yeah. Gotta stick to it. There we go.
It's tricky, but there is also a lot of benefits to it. And it's just nice. It's fun more than anything. It matters.
So let's see here. Just gonna run through some chats here. We had the Hidden Island super chatted. It's content creator said savage.
Thanks to all the people showing the support in the chat, by the way. Thank you, everyone.
Dawn Knight 1993 said Artur out here making fire retrospective videos. Love the video today. Oh, you put something out today, Art?
Yeah, I put something out today. Just uploaded a video I had in the works for a while. So if everyone wants to check it out after the stream is done.
Yeah, when the stream is done, check out Library of Ohara, Artur's most recent video. I'll be checking it out when we're done as well.
Thank you.
And
it's about Kaido and Joy Boy.
It's about Joy Boy?
Kaido and Joy Boy. Or Kaido being a failed Joy Boy. And I also put the idea that Big Mom was a failed Joy Boy as well.
I think probably anybody that, you know, is really going for it in that era is a failed Joy Boy. I mentioned how thematically, like, it also just builds up a lot more. Like, there's so much that connects to it, right? Like Big Mom's dream of having like a party with all races of the world, right? Which also just kind of ties into like Joe's dream, all those things. Well, I mean, that ties into, you know, my analysis that eventually I'm going to turn into a video, but I talk about a lot on streams. It's just that every person that Luffy has had some sort of antagonistic relationship with is a failed version of him in some way. So it's like, whereas, you know, talking about Big Mom, like Big Mom wants to, you know, get all of the races in the world together, which in theory is an amazing thing, right? But she's doing it with an iron fist and all of this, so she's going about it the wrong way. She's failing in that way. Whereas Luffy is going to accomplish that dream the correct way.
The way that I put it is that they're not delivering laughter as they really should. Kaido is delivering laughter by forcing it on people with smiles.
Exactly.
While Big Mom is also like delivering it through fear and through control of people fearing her, because even her citizens fear her.
Yeah, and this ties into, you know, what I believe of Rox. I still believe that Rox was probably a good guy, just with the wrong methods, you know. And I believe that he probably also thought, or maybe even planted the idea into Kaido that he could be Joy Boy. And Rox had to have known the true history and everything. It's the only thing that makes sense for Kaido and Big Mom to, you know as much as they do.
Can I make you a loaded question? What do you think is the One Piece? Speaking of laughter.
So I have my own theories. Now I will say this, that I know that you have an extensive theory on this, and I generally stay away from what is the One Piece theories, because it's the one thing in the story that I don't want to know. I never watched Ohara's multi-million view video or anything like that related to One Piece and anything like that.
Oh, doesn't really talk about the treasure, but yeah. It's more about laughter.
No. But I ascribe to the theory that One Piece is actually, much like Laugh Tale, probably a mispronunciation or misspelling, and that it's like PEACE, One Piece, right? Joining the world together, and that it all ties into the void history, the treasure, and just uniting people through that. So everything, you know, maybe it's even just all of the history, you know, that it's there, left it in one piece, like the story of Joy Boy, everything that happened, the history, and what can be done to fix the world, something like that.
Have you seen my video?
I have not, and that's just
probably better that way. Yeah.
I have had people, you know, come into my streams and mention that you believe that it's like that, you know. Well, I guess that's your theory about Luffy's true dream being for everybody to have a party, but doesn't that also tie into what you believe the One Piece is?
Yeah, exactly. Another one. I'm not gonna spoil it for you if you don't want to, but I do think at the very least, like you said, is that I think that the One Piece itself will be something that has a lot of narrative symbolic value. Like, I think like people is like, oh, but it has to be something that like is like a lot of money or like something really powerful. It's like,
no, even Gaimon's story tells us that. It teaches us that the One Piece doesn't have to be something tangible. It doesn't have to be treasure. You know, and that's something that is constantly beaten into the theme of Nami, you know, and treasure and everything in the East Blue and everything. It's just treasure doesn't have to be money. It doesn't have to be tangible. It can be the people around you. It can be anything that you care about. It can be Luffy's hat, you know?
Yeah. And I think, like, if it is a physical thing, which I think it will probably be, but I think it'll just be something physical with value in and of itself, with, like, symbolic value, right? It's not something that it itself physically is, like, super important, like a super cool sword or, like, an ancient weapon or something, but something that symbolizes something much greater. And I feel like some people, like, maybe sort of are struggling to wrap up around that idea, I feel, whatever it could be, but I do think that Oda will help establish that even better over time, especially as we go into the final saga, that, like, you know, the One Piece is something that has a narrative value in the story above all else, rather than a value more like in-world directly, you know, as like a super powerful or super rich thing or whatever.
Yeah.
Very loaded question, yeah. Sorry.
Oh no, it's absolutely loaded. I can't wait to see it. And my favorite thing about it is that Oda has known what the One Piece is since he started it. And that's an issue with a lot of writing and a lot of writers in general, is that they'll start a story that they have a good idea for, and I think sometimes there are a lot of anime, especially in manga, that are like this, where strong idea, bad finish. And
I always found that very weird because, like, I like writing as a hobby, just as a personal thing. I've done a few things like Return to Ravi and whatnot and all those things, but me having like...
Love that.
Yeah.
Love that. That was great.
Thank you. But like, to me, the idea is like, what I want the finale of the story to be is like always the first thing that comes to mind. Like, what is all of this going to lead to? And for me, like, the ending is the most important part of any story. And you see this with any type of piece of media. If it has a good ending, it sticks with people. Yeah. Obviously the rest is important as well, but that's really crucial. And, like, as well in my theory, for example, one of the things I simply mentioned is that I try to explain with direct evidence why Chapter 1 foreshadows the concept of the One Piece itself. And without going into detail, I literally point out, it's like, I think like all these things symbolically established in Chapter 1 with Shanks and so many other things build towards this thing. And I believe that Oda has said it from the start. And even if I'm wrong in the end, I still think that Oda had it so clear and showed it to us in such subtle ways that like almost no one's been able to perceive it. And I feel like it's been there the entire series, like hidden beneath our eyes in one way or another. I have my own idea, but I'm sure that other things could work just as well.
It's definitely going to be something that has been foreshadowed and has to be in Chapter 1 as well, because Oda is that kind of writer. He's probably the best I've ever come across, and certainly my favorite. And I respect him for knowing the ending, and that's why I never get worried when someone asks, like, do you think the One Piece ending is going to suck? And it's just like, no, because he knows the ending. If he didn't know the ending and he was making it up as he went along, then there is a chance for disappointment. But once you know the ending, once you know the ending of a story, and as you're writing, you have a direction. No matter where you go all the way around, you're still getting to that one end. Even if you just swim around and everything, you're still going to end up in the same spot. So
I think it's important to understand that the possibility of disappointment exists, because it could happen, and it is important not to go in blindly like, no, it's going to be Goda, but maybe it actually sucks. Maybe most people think it's bad. I don't think it's going to happen. I think it's a small chance, but it is important not to go with like Goda expectations going to be perfect, In the same way that maybe, it's really good, but it's not quite as amazing as it could have been, Anything can happen. But I do think there is very much reason to have faith that it probably will be good, because Oda has his work cut out for him. Like, he doesn't really need to like come up with anything incredible. He just needs to follow up on what he wants to do, bring all these characters together in this epic like final battle and everything, just explain all the things he's kind of had in his mind the whole time, and just let it do its magic on its own, I think that it would be hard to fuck it up. He can screw it up, but I do think that he's got his work cut out for him.
I trust in Oda. I believe him. I believe him.
Trust in Goda. Can we get a prayer?
Yep. Shout out to Mavahed, who said, Captain, a theory of mine, Sabo's captured by the world government. He thinks the Alliance will capture Green Bull and use him as a trade for Sabo. I honestly don't think that Sabo got captured.
Yeah, it's like, I feel like that's too obvious if we're getting a Marine for 2.0. I feel like that's too much, and I feel like Oda is playing on that on purpose, right? Because it's been like, Sabo this, we saw Sabo last chapter, literally, and it's like, oh, what's happening to Sabo? It's like, they're in the background, but...
No. I expect him to... whatever happened to him is certainly tied to Vivi, I believe. So I think that him and Vivi got away, and he has the Viva card to Luffy, so he could be on his way to bring Vivi back to Luffy. But then again, Vivi could also be with Sai or Leo, because they also have Viva cards to Luffy. Either way, I think Vivi's coming back. But Sabo, I do not believe he got captured.
I need like a moment in the final like final arc or whatever, where like the Straw Hats reunite with Vivi, and it's like Vivi's like, okay, I'm not rejoining the crew, but I'm gonna help you out for a moment. We get like that Avengers panel with like all the Straw Hats, like Yamato or Karo or whatever, and like Vivi and Karo there, and it's like everybody together again. Like, man, I want to see that so badly.
but I expect that, but I also expect Vivi to come back to the crew. I also expect
Permanently.
yeah,
Permanently.
permanently, yeah. Well, I mean, but the thing too is that eventually I expect us to get a Roger parallel where Luffy disbands the Straw Hat Pirates and stuff and all that. But
Fine.
but she'll come back. I also think that the world government has a bounty on her, and because we
Well,
have
that's not
that.
what happened first.
Yeah, but the other thing too, which is a big clue, is Wapple calling Big Morgans with the news, right? But it's like, what does Wapple know that no one else knows at the Reverie? That Vivi was a pirate. So I think that if she got away with Sabo or Sai or Leo, it's very possible that they put a bounty on her head and called her a Straw Hat pirate.
I saw some people saying like, what if like Sabo was like framed to murder Cobra, and it's like, who cares? Sabo's a revolutionary. Why would people like be so shocked about that?
Yeah, I mean, it's still possible that that's the way that Oda goes, but I mean, but the thing is that Oda's going to do some sort of twist, and he's gonna spin it around in some way. But we've already seen Sabo sort of hold off Fujitora, and now we've got the confirmation on Green Bull's powers, and Sabo's abilities seem like a hard counter to Green Bull. So I don't think that he would have been even we know that they fought. I don't think Sabo lost. I think he got away.
Yeah, but I also like wonder if Fujitora and Ryukugyu might switch sides. What if they got something with Sabo? It's like, or at least kind of meet some proposal or something. I mean, that's kind of what I proposed in Return to Reverie, right? For example, it's like, what if something went on? Like the world is framed like, okay, there was like this big battle and something went badly, but there's actually like a plan they're trying to devise behind the scenes. I mean, the entire Reverie is sort of like what the entire plotline with Ace and Blackbeard was for the pre-time skip, right? It's setting up a lot of things for the final battle, but I don't think like in that way is gonna go the same, right? Even though Sabo is in place of Ace here, I really don't think we're gonna get a Marine for 2.0, especially because with Sabo it'd just be so boring. Like, even just rescuing Vivi would be more interesting than rescuing Sabo. Or like you said, rescuing Luffy or something. But it's like, I don't want to see just like Sabo just like, damn, just having like that entire like edgy, like, oh my god, I'm going to die storyline again,
Well, I think one of the people that Luffy is definitely going to have to have to rescue is Hancock. I think Boa is going to go back to being
You think Hancock cannot hold her own?
No, I think that everything was set up with her and her tattoo and everything for her to return to becoming the quote-unquote property of the Celestial Dragons, hype them up, and then when Luffy has to take them down, he'll get her back.
Well, Kobe was a member of Source. I don't know if like maybe there were like also talks there or something. That's kind of something I was speculating about. I remember someone once told me, I know this is a bit unrelated, but someone told me like, in this current situation, if Luffy had to if Luffy had to decide between saving Hancock or Sabo or Vivi, who would he save? And I said, like, that's so dumb. The answer is obvious. All of them.
Yep.
It's Luffy. Exactly.
He's not going to choose. He's going to drop everything.
Exactly.
So.
But still, I do kind of wonder if there will be, like, something to drop or something like that, or, how kind of things are going to go, Because like we said, like probably they will have to go to Marijo at some point if the whole Fishman Island plotline happens. Or maybe not. Maybe it's all at Laughdale and like the destruction of the Red Line goes into the destruction of the Fishman Island just simply on the other side or something. But like still. But the thing is like, honestly, for how long it has been set up, I kind of want to see more of Marijoa beyond like just the Reverie,
Yeah.
And like as a like, just as a scenario, like it just like screams like final area, like maybe not necessarily the final area, but it's like, it feels like a really cool setting for a battle.
There's definitely a finality there. There's a finality to it for sure. I don't see the destruction of Fishman Island that was prophesized by Charlie to be a negative thing. I see it as it's a necessary thing that Luffy's going to have to do so that the fishmen can come to the surface. And
exactly, they emigrate to the surface with Noah. That's what the promise was about. They used the ship to emigrate everyone to the surface. Poseidon's powers. Pluton or Uranus or whatever destroy the Red Line. Poseidon undoes the calm belts and the Grand Line, and the world is unified as all blue. It's one of the oldest theories in One Piece. But yeah.
Yeah, it was posted to Arlong Park.
I mean, like, Marijoa has been set since a very long time. Marijoa was first mentioned in the Gaimon chapter, like, what was it, like chapter 23 or something? That was like a long time ago. So Oda has had it in mind for a very, very point. We saw it during the Drum Island arc. It's been established. We had the Reverie hyped up, and I mean, there's like a part of me that like still like is a bit heartbroken that we didn't get to see the rest of the Reverie because I was like so excited and then we just got to one.
We will. We'll find out all about it. I mean, it could. Who knows? It could be the next chapter. It's going to be within.
Literally.
I mean, once we start, in a month, once we get back to chapters, it's only going to be a few weeks away before we start really finding things.
I mean, like,
and that's crazy.
To think that like we're finally getting to the post-Wano stuff, the stuff that Oda has like blue ball has for like all these months, all these years. Finally, we're gonna get like this thing. It's like, the thing is like in the final saga, we're gonna find out like all the big secrets in One Piece, all the stuff, because there isn't more time to just keep building more questions that will be played, like some 5-10 years into the future. It's the time to get all the answers. And like as a One Piece fan, that's like super exciting.
Yeah. Cone Killer Confusor said, what do you think the chances are of a post-Wano mini time skip, like 6 months or so? Personally, I think if we were ever going to have another time skip, I think 3 months is probably the max. But I think that the gas pedal is on too hard for...
a couple weeks or something passed. We got a week's time skip, for example. 7 days have passed. But more than that, I really don't see that much.
Yeah, I mean, I would love a mini time skip if they found like someone to train the non-hockey users in hockey.
There's some time, like you said, it's a bit too late.
Yeah, I mean, especially if they find out things like X
that does
is
feel
captured,
weird,
Y is captured, and all of this. It's like, but it's like, can the current Straw Hats take on a crew like Blackbeard?
Yeah. It's kind of weird that like only 5 of the Straw Hats have Haki at the moment.
Yeah. I really feel like there should have been some blooming happening. I mean, even if it was just one. I mean, well, technically Zoro did unlock Conquerors, but I mean, if someone like Robin managed to incorporate armament into Demonio Floor or something like that, like just something simple. But it's very strange for Robin to have been with the Revolutionary Army for 2 years and not know hockey. She should have been one of the people to come back with hockey.
Yeah,
because Sabo knows it.
Because armament and observation haki isn't exactly something like super high level. It's fairly normal for the New World. Like that's just the basic stuff. Conquer haki, all right, that's the different story. But like that is just basic, and like Robin or Brooke or Frankel is not having it does feel a bit weird.
Yeah, and I think that's just, it's going to be a hurdle that is going to be really hard to get past when they get into some fights later on.
Yeah. Maybe it's something that's never addressed, but I do think though that Governor said the only time skip I could see happening is like maybe at the end of the story we get like a 5-10 year time skip as a small epilogue. But even that is kind of something that I wonder if it's something that Oda would really do, or he would really just end the series. Like, imagine the series ending on, like, that big party. The entire world connected together. Everybody coming together. We kind of get, like, this almost kind of retrospective of everything we've gone through. And we see everyone. And we end on this, like, climax of joy, happiness, and everything. And the series just closes off with a bang. Rather than the classic, like, oh, wow, now these two characters are married or whatever, like, that we always kind of get with manga.
No, I fully expect it to be that, with Luffy, like... probably his arms in the air like this, like emulating chapter 1.
Oda mentioned so many years ago that he always kind of had the final panel of One Piece in mind, like the final panel was closely with us. Like, oh man, what could that be? Because like that's probably gonna have so much significance. But yeah, it's like there is a part of me that would like to see is like everyone, like maybe like Chimney grown up. How are the people at Skypiea doing? Like 10 years into the future, something like that. All those things, But at the same time, maybe in like some additional content, or like I would usually say like a cover story, but obviously you can't have it if the story ends, right? But it's like I think it's too perfect to end the series on something like a party or just a culmination of everything. rather than just do the whole boring, like, oh yeah, 10-year time skip, or like, I hate, like, I'm sorry, but like, I really don't like the idea that like Luffy's gonna get executed, or he's gonna give his head to like another kid and then he's gonna like die or something. It's like, come on.
I think, yeah, there's a lot of people that think that Luffy's going to die at the end, and I think that it's better for Luffy to live and see the world that he'll have created.
Yeah.
Because that's what Roger wasn't able to do.
It's just thematically, it just, yeah, it fits a bit weirdly. Like, I get it's a parallel with Roger technically, but like, Roger was too early. That's his whole thing. Luffy isn't. There really isn't a reason for Luffy to die.
Exactly. That's how I feel about it. That's how I feel about it. Let's see. Drek the Drek said, Artur, what is the validity behind Nika equaling 2-9? I can't find any chart that lists Ka as a reading for 9, and yet this idea caught on for some reason.
I don't think a Ka is a reading for 9 now. Obviously, Ni is a reading for 2.
Yeah.
The thing is that in Japanese, 9 can be written as Q or Ku. So I guess people are sort of approximating that to Ka, but it really isn't much the case in that regard. And like Nika, like we know, is literally just laughter, right? It's the sound effect for laughter. I mentioned this when Nika was first introduced, and then we see Luffy awakening and he's like Nika when he smiles, because it's that. So I really don't think it's like that much more complicated than that.
Yeah, I see a lot of people going into that and, just assuming that Luffy's fruit is no longer the Gomu Gomu no Mi, but I mean, it was mentioned that it's another name. Luffy's fruit has 2 names, so it's still Gomu. So as far as the 2-9 theory or anything like that, like Luffy is still 5-6.
Yeah, and we've also seen like Luffy apply both a Zoan awakening and a Paramisha awakening to his fruit. So even the classification of that is still like a bit up in the air. But the thing that I will say about Garaigo, which is like the the whole thing of kind of combining like the numbers in Japanese. No, not Garaigo, sorry, it's like, it's a different name. It was like, no, it's like it's the play on numbers, right? The whole thing with like, Nika or like all this stuff is that it's not really, I feel like people sort of think there's like much deeper connections in that stuff there really is, because of how Japanese language is structured, it's really easy to find numbers in any word, or like to create words from like any numbers, because Japanese has a very limited alphabet of very few syllables. It only has 70 syllables, and like that's all the combinations, and that's even accounting for the compounds. So it's like it is very easy to sort of find patterns where there really are none. And I know that, for example, some theorists like Uteron, and I mean Uteron does amazing work, but like go really deep into that. But I feel like people who don't understand the language better, they think kind of like, oh, there's like this connection with these numbers. Oda clearly intended this chapter happen this thing, and his stuff, when like it really isn't the case, right? Oda does love those puns a little bit sometimes, but it is not something that is so hard coded. It's like, for example, the next Straw Hat doesn't need to have a 2 and a 9 in their Dal fruit. Exactly. It really doesn't need to. Oda isn't gonna write a character and their Dal fruit just so it fits these 2 numbers, just for this cool like number pun, and that's it.
Yeah.
He's gonna write what makes sense in the story.
Yeah.
And Oda does make some like things coincide on certain chapters, but it's not like, okay, I'm not gonna write this thing for another 50 chapters and I'm just gonna add filler just so we get this cool number pun that most readers probably won't even notice.
I mean, I do believe that Oda will pad the story out if he's on,
a couple things.
9. Yeah, it's like it.
All right, we're gonna make another rooftop, so let's make a couple chapters for that. But
yeah,
I mean, even chapter 1000. Sorry, even chapter 1000, Oda says like, wait, literally they asked me before, it's like, hey, we want you to do something special. And he was like, wait, what? It's like, okay, so I'll do like the whole rooftop thing. I'm gonna introduce some things, right? But it's not the type of thing he's gonna like dramatically like add like 10 chapters of filler just for the sake of making it work better.
Well, no, I mean, I don't believe that. But at the same time, if you go back to just about every 100, 200, 300, 400, 500, 600, 700, 800, 900, 1000, every single one of those chapters, something massive happened, or some sort of goal was reached, something was achieved, something monumental happened. So Oda crafted everything with that, But essentially,
I think it's
when
sort of
you're
celebrating those milestones rather than defining the entire structure of the story around those milestones.
no, I mean it's basically when he's storyboarding and everything like that, and it's like, okay, and he's planning everything out, maybe even by every 10 chapters. He's just like, okay, in this chapter that ends in 3, this is what's going to happen, and then by the time I get to this point, I'm going to reach this. Then starts
Yeah.
over, and then it's like, okay, this is where I want to get to in 10 chapters, and I'm going to do everything to make sure that I hit this. And that's generally how you would structure writing anyway, in most cases.
Yeah, but I don't think he necessarily like compromises what he wants to do for the sake of that. Because there's also been times where like he just ended up making things longer than he expected, like Whole Cake Island or Wano,
Yeah, I find that very interesting. I really didn't know that the Germa arc was supposed to be its own thing.
Yeah, he sort of. I mean, it was at least like an early idea that he had in mind, but he kind of like fused it together. And the thing is, as well, like according to a message that he made at Jump Festa, implicitly the whole category fight was never going to happen. Whole Cake Island was going to end after the tea party, but then he kind of extended it because he apparently found some interesting ideas. He wanted to develop the category fight and all that stuff, I mean, the thing is, like, Oda makes up so much stuff, like some of the best scenes in the series, like the end of Drum Island, the end of Alabasta, he just made them up on the spot. He didn't plan them out ahead of time, but, to an extent, but he is so good at making it feel like it was always there from the beginning, And he's really good at setting up that stuff. And the only thing, like I mentioned before with like Nika, is like that one it felt a bit more obvious that it was sort of just introduced in the story and it retconned the Gomu Gomu no Mi to an extent. But generally, Oda is very good at making it all feel natural. And like if he retcons something but it feels like it was always foreshadowed, that's equally as good as if it had always been planned. That's what a good writer does.
No, exactly. And that's why, you got to leave everything open-ended in a way, because you may find as you're writing, some other interesting way to get to that point. Even if it's still, but you still have to stay in line with, what you set up, but something else may connect. Greg Rice, which has said that they think
Zoda mentioned,
what's
that?
that?
I just say, as Zoda mentioned, the story kind of has a life of its own. Oda kind of talked about Yamato kind of like a character that just sort of moved on its own, in a sense, because sometimes certain things just happen to your story, and you just let them happen.
That also happens when you're making a television show and a movie. It's more so in TV. It's like the writers may have an idea for a certain character, but then the actor brings that character to life in a certain way that now the writers rewrite the story to make sure that this character that was maybe planned to die doesn't, and becomes one of the main characters of the show. You see it countless times.
That's a delicate tightrope to walk on, but if done properly, can work really well.
Yeah.
And in One Piece, it works better because Oda is at the center of it all. He's the master puppeteer there. And in that regard, it does balance itself way better, right? Because,
consistency.
He's the one who's always got the entire world in his hand.
Yeah. The difference between most television shows is that there's, 10 people creating the story when it's, instead of just one person.
It's a more difficult balancing act.
Yeah. So Greg asked why Kaido is obsessed with the right way to die. So to that, I will say I do have a video called "The Wrong Way to Die," which goes into that exact thematic element. I think that Kaido said Roger and Whitebeard did it right, which implies that someone did it wrong, and I do believe that person was Rox. That Rox did not die in the right way. And now Kaido also has not died in the right way. No one was there to see it. No one was there to, put it on this pedestal like Kaido wanted. And I'm very much looking forward to the eventual God Valley flashback that'll put that all into perspective.
That's gonna be amazing.
Oh yeah.
I kind of talk about this a little bit in the video that I just published today, but I do kind of want to make its own video, especially going to Kaido's character, because I do feel a lot of people felt that Kaido's character doesn't make sense or wasn't explained enough. I think it was, but I don't think Oda explained it clearly enough. I think Oda left it very subtle. He left it very, he kind of hinted at those symbolic themes of Kaido's story, and you can put together and understand what Kaido's story is about, but it's not so clearly spelled out where especially a lot more casual fans or a lot of just normal readers may understand it. And I do understand in that regard why people felt confused and almost felt like, I don't understand Kaido's character. Kaido's character makes no sense, or he's just a villain for the sake of being bad, which I don't think is the case.
I think the issue is that in Oda's mind, he tied Kaido's true intentions and his backstory too closely to elements that Oda is still trying to hide from the story. So
that is true as well. Absolutely.
So it's just he can't flesh out. He couldn't flesh out Kaido enough without essentially telling us what the One Piece is, or who Rocks was, or what really happened at the God Valley incident. So it's going to be one of those things where we're going to eventually get all of this information. If Yamato is truly joining, we'll get a Yamato flashback, and we'll also get the God Valley incident flashback, which will both recontextualize Kaido for us and make everybody have an even deeper appreciation for Wano, because you'll be able to go to different things that Kaido has said with knowing what he meant when he said that.
Yeah. I mean, I also kind of counted in my theory, for example, that I do think part of Kaido's character sort of ties into the idea of the One Piece, right? And not necessarily in a fundamental way, but yeah, I do feel like there are so many mysteries with rocks and whatnot that you really can't reveal, you really can't explore without having Kaido, be such a, without really you can't really explore Kaido's character without really spoiling a lot of those aspects, unfortunately. And I do think that
Artur, are you there? Losing?
Can you hear me? Sorry, I think I cut off for a second.
Yeah, I can hear you now. Okay, we're back.
Yeah, but I was simply saying, I think that it would be hard to really explore, so many elements of Kaido's character without really spoiling, like you said, major elements of God Valley, of Rocks, and other thematic concepts that Oda still doesn't want to explore, because Rocks is going to be a big part of the final saga, one way or the other.
Yeah, I mean, think about what Oda said when he was writing the Odin flashback. And he was just like, I have to be careful what I draw. I don't want to give away too much.
Oda strongly implied that Rocks is the lurking legend, because he said would be a character introduced in 2018 who was related to Whitebeard. Right? And it's kind of who else but Rocks could it have been? Maybe Imu, but again, maybe why is Imu connected to Whitebeard or something? And, it's obviously Rocks is going to play a massive part in the end of the story, but, of course, that it's still a bit too early for that, and I just kind of messed up things a little bit for Oda.
Yeah. Deshaun Cunningham said, Artur, thank you for the Bank Sake theory, by far one of the best theories made to date.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Not gonna mention many details because
it's all good, all good. Let's see.
I'll spare you.
No, I'm sure it all ties into what the One Piece is, and I feel like Bank Sake has to. Yeah,
Bank Sake is super connected, more than people think.
Yeah,
100%.
And it should, and it'll be amazing. And I think that we'll be able to get a Void Century flashback or something, and then look at the lyrics and go back to it and be like, oh.
I mean, my video in big part breaks down the lyrics of Bing Sasaki, and I point every line, and I mean every line foreshadows one aspect of the Void Century, all of it. Especially in Japanese, because a lot of it gets lost in translation, right? But it's for example, literally the this is the thing that I realized when watching Stampede, is that the final verse of Being Sasaki mentions Laugh Tale, but that got lost in translation because people thought it wasn't a big deal. I was like, all those years later, wait a second, the song literally finishes talking about this never-ending, ever-wandering Laugh Tale. But all the translations simply said, oh, it's a funny story or something like that, because it's just kind of like they never thought of like the significance it could have. I was like, now in retrospect, there's so many things about that make sense. The dawn, the drums are mentioned in Being Sasaki, it's like so many things. And I feel like Oda has weaved in such a way that we're gonna go into a final song and it's like, oh wait, this thing makes sense. Oh, this thing, and it's all gonna come together so incredibly
as we
well.
do very often as One Piece fans.
Yeah.
Shout out to DJ Red Comet for the super chat. Talking about the wins we had recently. Let's see.
Dragon?
The wins. It's just like, predictions, the correct predictions that I had recently. I basically predicted the last chapter.
I thought you meant like the weather.
No.
Yeah, man, it's been getting windy here.
No. I said I wanted Green Bull to be a bad guy. He was essentially a bad guy. I said that I wanted Robin and Hitetsu to be together looking at poneglyphs. That ended up happening.
Yeah.
Luffy's bounty, 3 billion, Buggy Yonko, and obviously
I was
Hitetsu
memeing
for
about
Sukiya.
Buggy. I was memeing about Buggy being a Yonko like in the Ora Jackson days. Like it was kind of like a shtick that I did for a while. It's just like weird to see now.
It's been a meme. It's been a meme for years, and it's like, but an extremely plausible one, because it was like, well, Oda made him a warlord. Of course, Buggy's going to become a Yonko.
Yeah, and I mean, like Buggy said it, and people are like, bro, that's foreshadowing. It's like, technically. Buggy did also say like, I'm gonna become a Yonko and then Pirate King. It's like, is that foreshadowing? Friends of mine like asked me, is like, how would you feel if Buggy actually became the Pirate King by the end of the series?
I'd be perfectly fine with it. I'd be perfectly fine with it. I mean, I also wouldn't be surprised if Oda did something where someone became the Pirate King before Luffy, and that he had to talk, like if Blackbeard made it to Laugh Tale before Luffy, just to add some extra drama.
Yeah, no, I think that makes sense. That makes sense. But with like Buggy's, like, or like, what if Buggy became the Pirate King and that's how it ends the series? Like Luffy found the One Piece, but Buggy takes like all the credit or something.
Yeah, well, or like Buggy, we follow Buggy, right? And we're on Laugh Tale, and he lands.
Luffy dies. Buggy becomes the protagonist.
No. But he falls into whatever the One Piece is, and he's sitting there, and he's like, I found it. I'm the Pirate King. But then we just pan and we realize that, no, the Straw Hats are all sitting there and they were there first. So yeah.
I don't think I was going to play it off as a joke, but...
Yeah, there's got to be some sort of a joke there.
And,
yeah,
I mean, Buggy will be involved in some way. Like, even in Stampede, the one who wins, like, the pirate competition and finds Roger's treasure, it's Buggy.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
He gets the eternal pose to Laugh Tale.
Yeah. And he knows exactly what it is. And he's just like, wait, what is it?
Yeah.
Let's see. Grizzly Adams said they couldn't stay for the whole stream. So then, but appreciate the super chat said, if Law is actually in Sword, do you think he could end up as an admiral? The orange admiral? Is Law's color actually orange? No, I think I don't know if we'd make him an admiral, but yeah.
I know that's like one of your big theories, right? Like the Lost Sword one.
Yeah, definitely. And then, I had the Tama as a Kurozumi, which seems those two stones.
Yeah, exactly. Like I saw that, I was like, oh.
Yeah, I remember when the chapter came out, I was even I see Saeed in the chat, he does some translations. I was just like, can you read those? Because I need to know if they say Kurozumi. And then, everybody was sending me your tweet later on.
Yeah. I really would love that. It's just thematically it fits well.
Exactly. I mean, I don't care if it's Tama, I don't care if it's Toko, I don't care if it's
And I really like,
even Yamato.
yeah,
I just want it to be addressed. And,
yeah, yeah. The thing that I really like though is even if it isn't addressed, I like the fact not so much that the cycle of revenge is broken and that Momo and Tam are friends or whatever, but I really like the idea that like Orochi ended up screwing even his own people, and in the end he only really cared about himself, and even screwed up Tama or someone like that because like who cares even about the Korazumi? It's all about me. And it
right.
shows how like that cycle of revenge is just it's pointless.
And that right there is the perfect response to all of the people that were like, why would Orochi hurt the Kurozumi?
Yeah,
It's like, well,
exactly.
it's Orochi. He doesn't care
Orochi,
about anybody but
exactly.
himself. So
He's a roach.
yeah, it's in his
Exactly.
name. It's in his name.
Yeah.
Let's see.
I remember, when people were saying like, Kaido's gonna get back up, like Kaido's gonna be alive and stuff, and I was like, it's gonna be Orochi, isn't it? Orochi comes out like, hey guys.
Yeah. At this point, Kaido's done. But Big Mom, I don't know. I mean, with this transmission being cut out that they saw the Big Mom pirates, with Cypher Pole, there was a fun theory in one of my streams by Yamil, who suggested, what if, when Big Mom got shot out of the volcano, the smoothie was able to drain the lava from her. And then
The thing that I found weird, especially, is that like I can understand within the night they couldn't like manage to reorganize to get back up the waterfall, but it's been a week. Why haven't they just like invaded Wano to take revenge on the Straw Hats or something, or whatever? What have the Big Mom pirates been doing?
I mean, if they're focusing on getting Big Mom back in shape,
Yeah, true.
I mean, like that. If they found, because the other thing
If
too
they
is like,
can.
where is Perispero?
I don't know, dad or something. The thing is that, like, unfortunately, I feel we're at a point in the story where, like, there isn't a spot for Kaido and Big Mom in the story. It's just they don't fit, right? It's like Kaido needs to get out of Wano. He's too strong. And even Big Mom, it's like, I feel like, for example, Wano, okay, needed to be liberated and given back to Momonosuke, but Totland doesn't really need to be liberated. It just needs a little bit of a reform. And if someone like Katakuri took the throne, maybe it could actually be a kind of bit of a nice place, and cut out its problems.
I'm okay with Kaido being done outside of flashbacks. Big Mom, I could see still playing a role.
But I think that's just us being disappointed that Big Mom could have been done a bit better, where it feels like she's been a bit ham-fisted into this arc.
Well, it's not just that. It's just from a story perspective, Otis set up so much with her backstory that still has yet to be resolved. And I've always felt that Pudding is the key to that. So if Pudding were to come back into the story in in a way where her ability, which revolves around memories, is used to jog Big Mom's memories so that she can actually reconcile what she did as a 6-year-old. I mean, then that brings that all full circle. Otherwise, it's like then the point of the flashback was just to show how Big Mom got her powers rather than having
Not just that, but I mean, I think like the flashback establishes a lot of Big Mom's character, a lot of who she is as a person, and I think it has a narrative purpose beyond just establishing plot points, I think it'll get a bit acknowledged in Elbaf, and I understand that, there were some theories that had a valid point that Big Mom perhaps could have been used in Elbaf.
Yeah.
But ultimately, I don't think it really, it isn't like obligatory, it's like the story won't necessarily feel like something massive is missing if we don't really see Big Mom in Elbaf, or if she has played a role in the story. I do kind of wish that Big Mom, and especially the Big Mom pirates, were a bit more used in a bit of a more traditional arc or something. As much as I love the structure of Whole Cake Island, I do feel that Big Mom has felt severely underutilized.
Yeah,
in a lot of ways,
and certainly her kids as well. They all have
exactly.
such interesting powers.
Yeah,
and I would love to see
Smoothie.
Smoothie, yeah. No, I mean I would love just superficially to see a traditional fight scenario between some of the Big Mom pirates and the rest of the crew. You know,
But
like
it's too late.
yeah, it's too late. But I mean, you know, it's like something like Robin versus Montdor or Daifugu. You know, it's like that kind of
Yeah.
stuff would be very, very interesting. Usopp versus Flampe.
Hmm. But you know, like Oda wanted to do something different with Whole Cake Island, but still use someone like Big Mom and maybe like a bit of Persper or something like that, but also couldn't give them the focus, so he kind of like compromised with this, where like Big Mom comes to Wano and it becomes this dual fight against the Yonko, more than an actual like, you know, all-out battle traditional arc against Big Mom. And as cool as that would have been, I do also feel that Whole Cake Island ended up being a very interesting arc because it had such a different structure as well.
Yeah, no, exactly. I you know, and I've talked about this with a lot of people too, and you know, and I love that you brought it up as well. You know, I there's so many things that I like about the second half of Whole Cake, but I also do wonder what the story would have been like if it did end at the tea party.
Hmm.
You know, but yeah.
Those are just what ifs.
Yeah, the what ifs. Yeah, we need Disney Plus to give us One Piece what if.
Yeah.
See, Caleb
Oh,
Brown
no,
said,
it's
"Will we ever
maybe
find?"
in Road to Laughter, you know. So some people things like, you know,
Hey, true.
imagine if,
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that is essentially what we're getting, right?
imagine if in Road to Laughter some people said we see Zoro kill Sky. The fans would never
Oh.
shut up about that.
Oh, Twitter would lose their mind.
Yeah.
Twitter would lose their mind. Let's see. Container Productions, appreciate you. Hey, what's up? Just came home. Hope I didn't miss much. That was way earlier in the stream at the time that was super chatted. They didn't miss much. Caleb Brown said, "Will we find out the model of Chopper's Hito Hito?" I fully expect that he has to have some sort of a model. You know, it just can't be.
I think it's
regular
just the
human
default. No, I think it's the default because there are default models of every fruit, right?
Yeah,
You have,
but I mean,
like,
what
the
if it's
Ushu
like a
Tsunami.
giant version, you know, and that's what Monster Point really is.
Yeah, but I mean, like Luffy. I mean, like Chopper just transforms into like a person and retains like the four. Like at worst, is the Hitonomi model like abominable snowman or something like that. But and that's why he gives this the fur or something. But I think ultimately it's just kind of the point. And it's really cool because like, you know, it's kind of hard to perceive it now, but from the perspective of a first reader, like you hear about like zoan fruits or whatever, but like you don't really think that like, oh, you know, if there's like the fruit of this animal, of course there's also going to be a human fruit because humans are animals. But you never would think in a story that a character has the human fruit, the human power, because that seems like, well, that's kind of lame, right? But you know, it's pretty clever in itself at the time.
Oh yeah, yeah, no, exactly. Love it. Here we go. I think that. Real Trill J said, "Are we at the point Vegapunk appears? It's 2022." I mean,
The
just
moment
like
Vegapunk appears, One Piece is ending. Like that's the moment we're gonna feel it.
you think so. See, I really thought.
I mean, no,
that,
not ending, but I feel like it's the point where we feel like, okay, this is the final saga. That's what I mean.
Oh yeah, I get you there. Before Green Bull was coming, I was, you know, with the world government ships there, I was like, you know, with all of the foreshadowing and everything, I was like, this really, more than anywhere else in the story, could be where Vegapunk actually does show up, right? Because it's like, thematically, the same arc that started this alliance between Law and Luffy to go against Kaido was also so heavily focused around Vegapunk. You know, with Caesar,
Hazard.
with yeah, exactly, Punk Hazard, Momo eating the fruit, and then
Vegapunk.
also getting in Wano, you know, even more clues to Judge and Vegapunk's relationship with Queen and everything like that, to where it's like, if Vegapunk shows up, there could be some really interesting conversations in Wano between Momonosuke and Vegapunk, Sanji and Vegapunk, Frankie and Vegapunk, you know, and it's like, I feel like those are three people that really should have an interaction with Vegapunk when he does appear. And
Yeah, I mean, like, it's been so. I mean, if it's not this final saga, like when the series is ending, right? It's like, you know, I mean, it's been what 600 chapters, over half the series. since Vegapunk was first mentioned. It's been such a long time.
Post Enies Lobby was the first.
Yeah, exactly. And Oda has been saving that up all this time. All this time, secretly, like, I feel like he's just, like, waiting for, like, that bombshell chapter where we're gonna get, like, amazing, crazy reveals, but then at the end it's like, nah, let me do you one more. Vegapunk. Boom. We're gonna have this wild design and everything, and, like, that's the point where, like, I'm gonna feel like, yeah, this series is starting to end.
Yeah. What do you think about the 3 versus 5 act structure right now?
Okay, yeah, I think I saw that super chat before, someone asking that.
Yeah.
And I want to bring this up because I've mentioned many times. The whole, like, 3-act structure, 5-act structure of Kabuki stuff is something the fan base made up. I don't get why, but it's completely false. Kabuki plays can be as many acts as they want. But somehow the fanbase has managed to gaslight itself into believing, like, oh, it's 5 acts. Guys, Act 3 is gonna end soon. It's like, it doesn't have to. It could be 5 acts. There are some plays that are 5 acts, but there's also some that are 3. I've been in Japan. I went to Ginza, to the Kabuki theater. I saw a play that was 1 act, and another one that was 3 acts. It completely varies. One of the plays I watched was literally like 10 minutes long. It was like a super short play. Kabuki arcs are very flexible, but, you know, the fan base has sort of created this myth. And, you know, there was also, like, I remember, like, people saying, like, the Act 3 tragedy needs to happen, and I'm like, what tragedy? You know? And I think, like, the reason why people sort of mistook that is because they took, like, I think that, like, in theater, both in Japanese theater but also theater, there's always, like, what is called a point of death in a story, right? Or a point of tragedy, which is, like, the lowest point in the story, like, oh no, the main characters are losing, right? And something needs to go well, but, like, that's not always necessary, you know? And Kabuki stories aren't even...
I mean, in standard storytelling, you do want that, because you need you need the rally back. So
in some theatrical plays as well, but the problem is that, you know, Kabuki plays aren't even, like, big epics like that. A lot of the time they're more like simpler stories about, like, farmers or, you know, or normal people and stuff like that. They're not really, like, big adventures like this. And if you want to acknowledge this, you know, we have had points of death. We have had, you know, the Straw Hats, like, you know, the start of Act 3, when literally everything seemed lost and nobody was showing up and the Scholars were alone. We saw Luffy being defeated at 2 different points. You know, we've had those things. We don't need, like, a big tragedy, like someone, like, dying and people thinking that, like, no, it's a fact, it's gonna happen, right?
We've had several all is lost moments in this arc.
Yeah.
That we've rallied back from. But I mean, we could be landing upon the biggest one of them all here.
I mean, yeah, potentially, but it's like it's just a different thing. Like, it doesn't need to be subdivided this way just because Kabuki is this way. And it's just kind of one of those, like, big myths in the community that just sort of, like, spreads like wildfire, and, like, everybody believes is the case.
Yeah, I mean, I've been telling people for a while now that this is probably the last act, and we're moving on to something else that doesn't need to be.
Or maybe we get a short act as an epilogue or something like that, or maybe not. Who knows?
Yeah, I mean, hey, I'm fine with that as well. That as well, but I also, you know, it's like the act breaks are interesting because it's like they've told us just as much as Oda wants to say,
yeah,
you know? And then it's but he's also been doing it in a way to deliberately hide things so that we're not just waiting for this, you know, like if he said in one of them, like if he had Blackbeard deliberately say, hey, I'm coming to Wano, then everybody would just be like, okay, when's Blackbeard showing up? When's he showing up? You know, we don't know that. We don't know if he's coming. There's foreshadowing for that. There's foreshadowing for the Revolutionaries. There's foreshadowing for Shanks. There's foreshadowing for Vegapunk. Anybody could show up, and the person that shows up is Ryukyu. So,
yeah.
Which at the same time, the Marines were, you know, talking about potentially going to Wano, and here's the one that, you know, we haven't seen anything from. So it's Oda's story. Yeah. He's gonna zig and zag, and that's what I love about it.
Yeah, there's multiple opportunities here, and I feel like the problem is, unfortunately, a lot of people kind of get caught in the head, kind of like something has to happen just because it has been set up one way, or that something can't happen because it has been set up another way. You know, it's like Oda can always kind of pull anything, you know? The story isn't always going to go exactly one way or the other.
I love this.
There are some patterns, but usually those patterns are more about general structure or general like pacing things or thematical things more than like, okay, because this thing happened in Thriller Bark, it's going to be the exact same thing in Wano, you know?
Right. Let's see. Very motivated in the chat said, Oda kills Luffy. Fandom. We need a tragedy.
Okay, no, that's another thing. Why do people think that Luffy actually died? I think that's because of, again, a translation thing, because some translations made it sound like Luffy, like, physically died, but it's like, if Luffy died, he would have lost his fruit.
Yeah, no, I think in general in this was just a joke. Like if Luffy
No.
But I mean, going back to the 1043 stuff, yeah, you know, there was a lot of that.
People took it kind of like some people are saying like, oh, Luffy's Joy Boy's reincarnation confirmed. We're gonna see like Joy Boy himself possessing Luffy's body like a ghost. And I'm like, maybe that's a cool theory, but like let's not take it as fact quite yet, you know?
Right. I mean, at that point, you know, anything was possible. You know.
Yeah.
Milo, what's up? He said 3-hour theory for theory. Let's go. Glad I could catch this live. Appreciate you here. Shout out to XRO for joining. Thank you. What were you saying, man?
No, I mean like everything is possible, but everything could or could not happen.
Yeah. So we are at the. Let's see. Yeah, we are pretty much at 3 hours here. I love this.
Yeah.
I was expecting to only go for an hour, but you know what I mean. When we start talking about One Piece, we could we could literally talk forever. I mean, you saw the last Reverie was 11 hours.
Yeah.
I think I am gonna wrap things up here though. I've loved this. I've enjoyed this so much.
I had a lot of fun. Really fun to chill like this and just talk One Piece, you know?
Yeah. No,
I mean, we've talked a few times before, like external collaborations, but we never had like a proper 1v1 like this, and you know, getting to just talk like this is really fun. You just kind of forget about the chat at all, you know. It's just kind of you just kind of feel like, yeah, I'm just chatting with a friend, you know.
And you know that's why I started this. You know, like the community aspect of getting on YouTube in the first place was to just talk about this because exactly, you know, which is, hey, you know, you were breaking down what One Piece means.
Is that I think that like what I said in my theory is that I think okay, like the One Piece is a thing within the story that makes sense, but I also think the One Piece is metaphorically the story itself connecting us all readers. Like I think that's what Oda really wants to use that as. One Piece brings us all and connects us all together because it's One Piece that, you know, brings this thing that we all share together, just like the One Piece in the story will eventually.
Exactly. The One Piece is the friends we made along the way.
No. The One Piece is what creates the friendships that then build along the way.
Love that.
It is the shared thing that brings the friendships. It's not the friendship itself, but it is the catalyst of friendship. And that's what I say. Of course, the One Piece is going to be something that symbolizes the friendships we've made along the way. One way or the other, it's going to be. But it does. What matters is that it isn't that specifically, but it is something that represents that. You know, it's not always just the friendship of the adventure. No, but it is something that encompasses that on a narrative level much more profoundly than just saying like, yeah, it's just that.
Just like we talked about earlier, if it ends up being something like the friendships we made along the way or anything like that, it will become the quintessential best version of the friendships we made along the way trope.
Exactly.
Like Oda takes every trope and then makes the you know, what he does in One Piece the definitive version,
and symbolizes it through something that has already connected us through the entire story, and something that we can relate to because we are reading One Piece, which is connecting us together.
Exactly. Brandon King said that I missed a super chat. I saw your super chat, Brandon. It was about Elbaf. I didn't read it because we right after that there was another super chat asking about Elbaf, and then we were talking about Elbaf for a little bit. But I appreciate it, Brandon. he believes that Enel will be a big part of Elbaf and deal with the Norse mythology, which I mean I wouldn't be opposed to.
I could cut off for just a second.
Oh, I was saying the super chat was talking about Enel coming to Elbaf and being a part of that, and tying into Norse mythology and things like that. So, which I wouldn't be opposed to. You there?
Hello?
Hey, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just cut off for a second there because of something bad.
Yeah. No worries. So any last things that the chat wants to say? Get them in now. Artur, any final words that you want to leave with the chat? Be sure to let them know where they can find you if they don't already know who you are.
Oh yeah. I imagine they probably do, but obviously you can find me on the Library of Ohara. You can find me on YouTube as Artur, the Library of Ohara, as well as Twitter. Like I said, I did upload a video just now talking about Kaido and Zolo-boys. So if you guys are interested, please check that out. Help boost the views. And once this is over, go watch then.
Yeah.
Let's
raid everybody in the chat when we wrap this up. I want you guys to go and raid Artur's new video. All right.
Yes, please.
And then Movahed said, missed my second theory super chat. Pluton is a battleship under Wano. Appears only when you open it up, pulled by Zunisha, who is to take orders from Momo. We talked about that a little bit. Yeah, we talked about those ideas. And I mean, it just makes sense. I mean, with the context for it is there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Why is one on a mountain?
Exactly.
Just beyond your fortress.
Why is it above sea level?
Exactly. Exactly.
Did the continent puller lift all of these islands and put them on top of the ship and create this balancing act, or is the ship a living creature? That's the other thing. It's carrying Wano on its back. Which would be another reference and parallel to Odin holding the scabbards up. So there we go. There's layers and levels to everything. We can get into
There's so much that we can do with this.
Yep. And then Chin said that raid Artur's latest video because it's Morgan time. They had to bring that back at the end. All right, guys. Thanks so much for being here. I want to see everybody in the chat thank Artur for being here, for being our guest today. I've loved this, and it's been a little bit since we had a Theory for Theory because Oda was giving us a lot of chapters back to back. Normally, I only do these every break week, try and get someone in. And,
well, now we got a lot of break week.
Now we have a lot of break week. Yeah, exactly. So, all right. So thanks everybody, and I'll see you real soon. Probably be cutting a highlight reel out of this for anybody that missed everything. And if you do not see the VOD for this, be sure to check out the second channel. I'll leave this up for a little bit, and then it's gonna move over. All right. Thanks, Hidden Island. Thanks, everything. Yep. Look at that. Everybody's saying thank you. See? Look at that.
Thank you.
Yep. All right. Oh, yep. And Artur just put the link to his video there. So make sure you all click that.
I plugged myself.